the shit that we say,
Mm-hmm.
and he'll just sit there and make like jokes about us, and everybody's like, funny.
I have never got it. I've never got it.
Ralph Bailey Show. News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230 KER.
I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we are the people who get to the promised land.
Text to 661-842-KERN. That's 661-842-5376. Listen live at KERN.com. Now, the host you've been waiting all day for. Live from the KERN studio, here's Ralph Bailey.
Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant good afternoon to you, wherever you may be, however you may be listening, or however you may be viewing, for those streaming on YouTube. This is the Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230, where we're streaming live at kernradio.com. Chris Burdick is producing the show on this 11th day. Oh, Lord. I put the 12th on the... And I asked JR as he was walking out the door, how could I not know the date? Oh, well. If you're watching on YouTube and you're going back to watch the show, look for the 12th. I'm wearing a somewhat wrinkled white shirt and green shorts. We got a busy broadcast. Teresa Goldner joins us live in studio at the bottom of the hour, and it is a Tuesday, so Howard Marcus will join us at 4 o'clock. And we've got a bunch of things to talk about. The doctors are pushing back on this new vaccination schedule that the president signed into executive order on the suggestions of one of the kookiest cabinet members in the history of this country, Robert Francis Kennedy Jr., the man with a worm on his brain, who I just don't understand how people rise to these positions. Because 2-3 years ago, every one of us thought this guy was a nut. And now he's ahead of our health. So I'll delve into that just a little bit, because as you know, I am very, very, very much pro-vax. And basically everything that Kennedy and Donald Trump said yesterday in regards to vaccinations and its connection with autism and problems with some of the other diseases is just nonsense. It's scientific nonsense. It makes no sense. And you'll hear from Stephen Miller, who absolutely lied in the White House, in the Oval Office, absolutely lied that nobody studied this because they want to separate the MMR, the measles, mumps, and rubella shots. So where now you have to take them separately as opposed to giving them 6 in one deal. And, you know, for middle-class folks, that's 3 copays. That's 3 days you got to get off work. That's 3 days you got to deal with an infant getting shots as opposed to just doing it in one fell swoop. 1 day off of work, 1 copay, 1 bad day for your baby, as opposed to 3. It just doesn't make any sense. And it's based on Kennedy and Trump's hunch that there's some connection with autism. I'll break down how this whole autism connection started and the celebrities that fueled it, that's kept it alive, that is, I mean, have you not seen the evidence? When was the last time we had a measles outbreak, for God's sakes? And now we've got a measles outbreak. I wonder why that is. Let me think about it, and I'll have an answer for you a little bit later in the program. We'll also talk about the big primaries that are going on. All eyes are on Wisconsin. They're paying attention to what's going on in South Carolina with Lindsey Graham's sister, who's going to end up in a runoff in 2 weeks. They're also paying attention to what's going on in Minnesota, where another DSA candidate is challenging a moderate Democrat. We, by the way, we Republicans should be rooting for the DSA candidates. We want Francisco Hong to win in Wisconsin. I'll break that down for you, who she is, and the brother that she's running against. The brother is the moderate Democrat in Wisconsin that's going to get beat tonight. As I've told you, this DSA, this Democratic Socialist movement, is going to have a wave. And then they're going to have to deal with the general population. Because clearly the DSA candidates have taken over the Democratic Party. Clearly. They own the Democratic Party. And now the Democratic Party doesn't know what the hell to do. As I said, there are three things you can do when there's a political movement. You can either get out in front of it and pretend that you are always a part of it. You can try to stop it, or you can stand on the sidelines and watch it go by. And I don't think the Democrats really know what's going to happen or how to deal with it. For example, they supported Bernie, AOC, the rest of the DSA crowd who are already elected, have supported some DSA candidates, but they're not supporting, they haven't endorsed Hong in Wisconsin. Hong, by the way, if you don't know who this woman is the one that I'm sure you've heard wants to cancel Thanksgiving. Not making that up. She wants to well, she's backed it off now, but I'll read you the post that she put up a couple of years ago. And this whole idea that if you said something 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, that you don't own it anymore. You can somehow walk away from your beliefs. No, I'm sorry, you can't do that. Barack Obama got away with it. Barack Obama in 2008, when he was running against Hillary, he and Hillary were both dead set against gay marriage. Dead set against it. And Barack's response was, it has nothing to do with gay people. It's my religion. Well, apparently, in the next 4 years, when he got reelected, he changed religions because then suddenly in 2012, he was all in favor of gay marriage. In fact, he was leading the crowd with his rainbow flag. I don't understand that. I've been doing radio for 22 years, and I've changed my positions on trials because there's new information. I've changed my information on certain candidates because they've changed course. But to have a principled position and somehow change it, like, how do you even stumble into the position that you want to cancel Thanksgiving? I don't know. We'll delve into that. And the hilarious story of the day is the cheating golfer. Have you guys heard this story? It is one of the craziest, ridiculous, characterless stories I have ever seen. Have you guys seen this story? The cheating golfer?
Okay, yes, I did see something like this, or about this.
Unbelievable. Guy's playing in a golf tournament, and he realizes his group will be the first group to reach the hole-in-one hole. So what he does is, let's say the tournament's on Friday. He goes out early Friday morning and goes to the hole, knowing that his group is going to be first, makes a pitch mark. A pitch mark is the mark when a ball comes onto a green from a distance, it hits and goes forward or spins back based on how it's hit. But that initial impact creates a pitch mark, a hole in the green where the ball first initially hit, and then it kind of rolls out or it spins back. And so he went out about 5:30 in the morning. Tournament starts at 6:30 in the morning, made an artificial pitch mark and placed his ball in the hole. Okay? The tournament starts. They're approaching the par 3, and he tells before the tournament starts, he tells his boys, at some point I'm going to have to break away. My grandmother's ill. I'm going to have to make a phone call. So they're approaching, let's say the par 3 was the 17th hole, and they're on the 16th hole. And he says, hey, fellas, I'm going to finish out real quick, and I'm going to go to the 17th tee and call my grandmother and hit. And then I'm going to go talk to my grandmother while you guys hit. And they're like, fine, we're going to finish up here. You go on to the 17th tee. So he goes and pretends to make the phone call because the ball's already in the hole. The players come up to the 17th tee, and they go, where'd you go? He goes, I don't know. I just want to talk to my grandmother, but I thinned it a little bit, but I didn't see where it ended up. And then they go to the green, and they can't find the ball, and somebody says, hey, it's in the hole. What? And he wins $5,000. He almost got away with it. He could have, at any other course, he would have got away with it. But it just happened that the par 3 that they were playing was near their supply cart shack where they keep all the carts. And that's the only place on the golf course where they have cameras. That's the only thing valuable are the golf carts. So what can you steal? The flags? What are you going to steal at the golf course? So the only place they had a security camera was on the supply hut, which just happened to overlook the par 3. So they have video of my man making the divot mark and plopping the ball in the hole and running off. And it was his buddies that ratted him out. They just kind of called the clubhouse and said, we never really saw Ralph hit the shot. And it just seems kind of weird. Like, my wife tells me that his grandmother's fine. And so they're like, what? They said, well, actually, we think we've got a security cam. And they looked at it and they saw him. And hey, I'll give him the only credit I will give this guy, because I don't know how he looks his kids in the face. I don't know how his wife's. Do you stay with somebody like that? If your wife did something like that, would you stay with her? Is that divorceable? Because it just makes you out to be a POS.
But again, it really depends how bad the relationship, I guess, is at the time. Like, you have any-
No, let's say it's swimmingly. You got 2 beautiful kids, but you find out that your husband or your wife is a freaking lying, no good scumbag. Because this just doesn't pop up. You know what I'm saying? You're not like this characterized honest. And then at 35, you do something ridiculously dishonest. Life doesn't work like that. You know what I'm saying? Criminals are good for the crime. There are certain things that if it happened to me, people would be like, yeah, that sounds like Ralph. That sounds like Ralph. And there'd be other things that are like, no, that's not Ralph Bailey. We know Ralph. You know what I mean? And I just find it hard to believe that this lack of character just suddenly popped up into this guy. All right, let's go ahead and get started. When we come back, we'll get into what everybody is talking about. And it is the Trump ruse. That's what I'm calling it. Hi. God, I love her. I think at some point, Chris, I'm going to just have to jump out of the chair, just absolutely meet her on the sidewalk and just say, I just wanted you to know that I think I love you. No, then she'll call security. Yes, she'll call security and then American General Media and say, do you have a freckle-faced old black man? It's kind of creepy. And Katie will be like, Ralph Bailey. Yeah, we do. Yeah, you're right. I probably should do that. Quick timeout. We're just getting started on a busy Tuesday. It's the Ralph Bailey Show. News Talk 96.1 AM, 1230. We're streaming live at KernRadio.com. Somebody in the chat room said, shoot your shot, Ralph.
To get shoppers the option of having a guaranteed upfront parking space in a section of the parking lot for a fee. And by the way, this is taken off all across the country. You want to park up close, you can, but you're going to have to pay for it. News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230 KERN. If you're a local businessman and you take your IT seriously, there are 2 things that you absolutely need to do. One, listen to the Ralph Bailey Show on Wednesdays at 3:30 when Jennifer and Ryan Van Alstyne, owner-operators of Adaptive Networks, come in, basically talking to business folks on what you should be looking for, what should be alarm bells when people are coming back and fixing the same thing over and over again. And the next thing you need to do is pick up the phone and call the Van Alstynes at Adaptive Networks at 241-0638. 241-0638. As I have talked about so often, we have teamed up for almost a year with American General Media and Adaptive Networks because as a radio station, we absolutely depend on our ITs. We have to go to a team reliable, competent, and have the best customer service in Kern County. If you're a serious business person, call the folks at Adaptive Networks at 241-0638. Get them online. Adaptive-net.com.
Looking to refresh your home or business with a clean, professional new look? Trust the experienced team at Howling Painting. Family owned and operated in Kern County since 1978. Howling Painting has built a reputation for quality workmanship, dependable service, and attention to detail. From residential to commercial projects, interior or exterior painting, their team is committed to delivering beautiful results at competitive prices. Named Best of Bakersfield's Best Painting Company in both 2025 and 2026, Howling Painting takes pride in making sure every customer is completely satisfied before the job is done. And with a fully licensed and insured team, you can feel confident knowing your property is in trusted hands. Call Howling Painting today at 872-0988 at 872-0988 or visit howlingpainting.com. No obligation consultation. Howling Painting, quality you can see, service you can trust.
Albert seems qualified. Not all customers will qualify. Transfer fees may apply. Albert subscription required. Albert is not a bank. Albert instant loans are issued by FinWise. FDIC. Add that to apply. Terms apply.
Kylie, what's wrong? I just got hit with a car repair, I'm behind on rent, and I feel like I can never save any money. Have you tried the Albert app? Albert is your financial assistant, helping you find ways to save and create custom budgets to actually grow your money. Plus, $10,000 for big expenses, or advance up to $1,000 fast with easy cash right away. Albert, advantage $10,000? Exactly. Albert spots you in a pinch and helps you grow your money in the long run. I'm downloading
Hey.
Albert right now.
Hey, Chris, remind me that I'm wearing this thing. Remind me that I'm wearing this thing. Because somebody asked me if somebody asked me in the chat room if I had it on. Sounds no better. Just attach it to here. I'm just going to attach it to the mic. I'm just going to attach it to here. This is the best highlight song ever. It really is. It's used all over the internet. There's one with Magic Johnson, which is my favorite. There's one with Barry Sanders, which is another one of my favorite. The one with Magic is so good. You forget how good Magic Johnson is. My favorite pass, it's all passing. A couple of scorings, but it's all Magic's passing. My two favorites are he did a full court bounce pass, which is crazy. He threw it from the baseline, bounced it from half court, and James Worthy caught it on stride about 5 feet from the basket. It was crazy. And the other one, and only streamers on YouTube can appreciate this, he's coming down. He's got Coop on his left. He's got Byron Scott on his right, and he's staring at Coop. He's coming down the court. He's at half court, and he's staring at Coop, just staring at him. And at the last second, he gets to about the free throw line, and without even looking at Byron Scott, he just throws it to him and never even looks. Just assumes that he catches it, and of course he does, and he slammed it. The story that everybody's talking about is this crazy ruse that the Secret Service did while the president was in Turkey last July 8th, that's specific, when he was leaving the NATO summit. And I'm sure you probably heard how it went down, where he gets on Air Force One. First, they said he can't get on the Qatari plane that he traveled to Ankara, Turkey. And so then they say, well, he can't fly that back because we want it to go someplace else to show off the troops, which is a lie. I don't mind the Secret Service lying. This and one thing that you need to know, this isn't the first time that they've done with this with the president. The most notable, I'm sure you all are aware, was 9/11. When George Bush was hiding out at a base, I believe in either Louisiana or Arkansas. And then finally he said, I'm going to the White House. And the Secret Service was like, no, you're not, Mr. President. We can't do it. They hit the Pentagon. They could hit the White House. I'm going to the White House. I'm not running scared. Let's go. And he did. And the other time they did it was Obama. They did it with Obama once, where he was someplace and they pretended that he was on a plane and he wasn't. But how they did it was, so he boards Air Force One. Then they brought up let me get this straight, a catering container, one of those trucks that, you put food on the plane that has a lift, what I'm saying, that goes up to the back of the plane. And so they pulled it up to the back of the plane. He got in, they brought it back down. He got in the catering cart and they put him on another military plane. That flew to Britain. Meantime, this is the only issue that I have. Meantime, the White House press corps, the White House staff, and many senior military officials are still on the original plane that he got off. And the obvious point is, I'm not trying to break a story here. It's master of the obvious stuff, but how in the world can you allow White House staff, military members, and the White House press corps to get on a plane that you just deemed isn't safe? What would the White House, how could they have explained this if that plane had either blown up in midair or got shot down by some shoulder propelled missile? Who knows? But it wasn't safe enough for Trump, but it was safe enough for the staff and the press corps. That's the problem that I have. I don't mind shifting around the president when he's, we're in the midst of a war. It's been in all the papers. So shuffling around the president secretly isn't the issue. Making all those people decoys, living decoys, is crazy. You say, well, Ralph, how would you have handled it if you're head of Secret Service? We've had some mechanical problems with Air Force One. We're all going to have to take this military plane. I can't imagine allowing anybody to get on a plane that the Secret Service has deemed unsafe. It is just absolutely crazy. Meantime, the other big pushback, the other big story is that doctors are pushing back on Trump's and RFK Jr.'s vaccination rollout, which was just absolutely stupid. This is Stephen Miller talking in the Oval Office yesterday.
Nobody has studied it. Nobody's looked at it. Nobody's thought about the pressure from the pharmaceutical industry and from aspects of the medical industry to pump your kids full of shots days after birth with no understanding of long-term consequences has been a medical travesty.
Every single thing that just came out of his pie hole is a lie. It's an absolute lie. To even imply that the medical profession has not studied the impact of the MMR vaccinations and their connections to autism or issues that they may have later on in life is a lie. And the problem is, Stephen Miller is famous for these making up stuff, but this is a dangerous lie. And proof in the pudding, once again, is this sudden outbreak of measles. Measles are airborne. If I have measles and I walk out of this room and Teresa Goldner comes and sits down, I'm not even in the room, but she comes and sits down, she can get measles. That's how easily it's transferred. And yet RFK is like questioning these vaccinations. He's brought that now into the Trump administration, so they bought into it. And now, if you're going to get the MMR vaccinations, measles, mumps, and rubella, you got to do it in 3 different deals. And as I said at the top of the show, A, that's 3 different copays. B, that's 3 different visits, 3 different days off from work, or 3 different days that you got to leave work. And it's 3 days dealing with an infant. And if there's anything that children can't stand, it's getting a shot. So now instead of just dealing with it in 1 day, you've got to do it 3 different times. That's stupid. Absolutely stupid. And this whole connection with autism and the vaccination started about 20, 25, 30 years ago by some quack doctor who has completely been destroyed medically in terms of his credibility. And then a bunch of big mouth, big microphone celebrities, meaning they had a big voice and a big platform to wage their idiocy, started talking about who's Marky Mark Wahlberg married to? The blonde who was on, she was on Charlie Sheen's show for a hot minute. Really hot blonde. No. Who am I talking about, y'all? Help me out. The blonde is either Donnie or Mark. Maybe it's Donnie Wahlberg. Maybe it's Donnie Wahlberg's wife. It is Donnie Wahlberg's wife. Who's he married to? Jenny McCarthy. Got on her what's the word I'm looking for? Her stump box, her platform. And this is back when she was hot and like literally and figuratively on, not literally, but hot in terms of her. Please stand by. Somebody's trying to help me out. Jenny McCarthy, yes. When she was hot as an entertainer and hot looking, and she spread this thing and it spread like wildfire. It's a lie. It's an absolute lie. We got some honest person coming in next. Teresa Goldner joins us. All right, here I go. All right.
Good luck.
Oh, good. He found it. And I was absolutely right. He fucking put it down again.
In Ohio, perilous thunderstorms and extreme wind gusts pummeled the region on Tuesday as tornado warning sirens howled and the skies darkened. All flights were temporarily stopped at Chicago's two major airports. Officials warned about delays as the flight backlog is cleared. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 184 points. More details at srnnews.com.
Kern Radio, News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230, KERN. Headlines from the KERN Newsroom.
I'm Rob Archer. United Airlines has started daily nonstop flights from Bakersfield to Los Angeles. The new service from Meadows Field to LAX began today. United now flies nonstop from Bakersfield to LA, San Francisco, and Denver. Valley Plaza has added paid preferred parking in the small section close to the entrance. Most of the mall's parking lot remains free. Mall management says the paid spaces give shoppers another option. Some customers were saying that they don't think people should have to pay to park at a Bakersfield mall. And Kern County Animal Services is holding a public meeting tomorrow night about loose and dangerous dogs. The first meeting runs from 6 until 9 at Rusty's Pizza on Olive Drive at Victor Street. I'm Rob Archer in the Kern Newsroom with news every half hour and when it breaks on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230 KERN.
Are you looking for a hospital that truly cares for your health and well-being? At Good Samaritan Hospital, they provide high-quality medical detox, psychiatric services, and medical and surgical care. They accept most insurances, including Medi-Cal, Medicare, and Kern Family. They offer Kern County's longest-standing inpatient detox program with dual diagnosis that combines medical care and withdrawal management all under one roof. Learn more at GoodSamaritanHospital.com or call 661-215-7500. Good Samaritan Hospital. They care for their community.
Did you know termites can silently feast on your home for 3 to 4 years before you see any damage? They can literally eat a bedroom wall in less than 2 years, causing major structural damage to your biggest investment. Don't wait for the evidence to appear. Ryan's Termite is running an early bird special. If you know or even suspect that you have termites, get on Ryan's schedule now for an additional 10% off our already lowest price. All work is guaranteed. There's no money down and no contracts. Plus, in most cases, you won't even have to move or tent your house. Protect your home and save. Call Ryan's today. That's Ryan'sTermiteControl.com.
Maxwell in the morning. Good till the last mic drop.
Federal appeals court ruled the New Jersey's assault weapon law barring possession of a semi-automatic rifle is unconstitutional. The first time a federal appeals court has ruled that a state's assault weapons ban violated the U.S. Constitution's Second Amendment, so this could be a huge one for here in California. Things could be changing for us gun owners.
Weekdays 9 to noon, News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230, KERN.
Hey, it's JR Flores. Catch my show, The JR Show, starting at 1 p.m. Now back to the Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230, KERN.
Eight 842-537-6842-KERN. It's a Tuesday. Those that are watching on YouTube can see the lovely Teresa Goldner is back in with us. And we purposely played Tupac Shakur for you if you're wondering why the music is Tupac, because we're going to address the trial that is getting underway. They have a suspect in one of the most I don't think it's hyperbole to say this is one of the great Hollywood mysteries ever. I never imagined that they would solve the murder of Tupac Shakur, who was killed back in '94 prior to a Mike Tyson fight. Tupac was involved with a gang, and there was a rival gang. I don't mention gang members' names or affiliation. I just don't do that. I worked for a black newspaper at South Central, and that was our policy, and it's been my personal policy ever since. I don't give them credit, any kind of credibility or notoriety. So they run into this kid that's in an opposite gang. They beat the crap out of him. His uncle, who is David Keith, well, I'll let her fill in the specifics. David Keith, I don't have his name written down. He is what they call the shot caller, and he orchestrated the murder, allegedly. And the problem is, for David, is he went on BET, as we talked about yesterday. He went on Vlad. He went on all these podcasts. He wrote a memoir taking credit for the murder. And that's where we hand it over to the judge.
Isn't it amazing? Just
Wow,
amazing. Hi, Ralph. How are
I did not
you?
notice you are dark. Are you Cuban? You have been in the sun.
Thank you, Ralph. I'll take that as a compliment.
It is a compliment. It is a compliment.
This case is wild.
You know, you guys want to look more like us.
Hey, now. Come on now. Well, I'm half Italian. Did you know that?
Okay, what's
I'm
that
half
got to do?
Italian.
What's that got to do with
Italians have
anything?
dark skin, have
True
olive-colored skin.
True that.
Olive-colored skin gets tan pretty quickly.
Yeah.
What can I say?
Yeah.
But
Okay.
happy birthday. I wanted to tell
Thank
you
you.
that. Happy
Thank you.
birthday.
Thank you.
I hope you had fun.
Yeah, I did actually.
Good. It feels good to be back here. And I feel
Good.
like we're getting back in the zone again.
It's
This is
good to have
fun.
you back. It is.
Thank you.
It's been a while.
So thank you, Chris, for playing Tupac Shakur, hope you pronounce that right, his song. It's called Changes. And I thought it was a really interesting song. Have you ever heard it before?
Once or twice.
Yeah, a lot. So that means a lot.
Yeah.
I love that song. I think it's really
Oh, he was
cool.
a genius.
Yeah, it
He was
shows
a genius.
it shows that he had a side to him that was not just confrontational and anti-police and violence. He was really he really was an artist.
He
And
was.
I thought that since we were going to talk about his murder trial, that this is something that we should at least get credit him with a beautiful song that he wrote.
Yeah, it's just sad that young. I talk about this a lot. Not a lot. I don't want to talk about it, but culturally, people. One of the most often asked questions I get beyond, "Are you really a Republican and why did you change?" is, "What do you think?"
Sorry, I can't stop laughing.
What do you think life would have been like had King lived?
Oh,
And I said, the only thing that Dr. King never saw, and I'm glad he died when he did, is he never saw gang activity. He never saw young black men killing other black men over respect or neighborhood or whatever, which has been the absolute, along with absent fathers, been the absolute downfall of the black community. And to see this guy at 25 years of age and Biggie Smalls at 24 years of age,
incredible.
involved in some East Coast, West Coast, this gang, that gang, two genius artists who would have been billionaires by now, and they're dead before they're 26 years old.
I think about how that would have maybe changed the world, at least our country a little bit, if they had stayed, if they'd been able to survive. And
Yeah.
and some of the things that they wrote about, were adopted. Of course, not the violence, but the other part of it. He was murdered in 1996.
Was it 96? I thought it was
it's been
94.
so
My
it's
bad.
actually it's been 30 years now. He was this person that is charged with killing him is a guy named Dwayne. I don't know if you pronounce it Keefe D or Keefe D. Davis. He's the only person that's still alive.
Dwayne
that was-
Keith Davis. Yeah, my
Right,
bad.
that was in the car. And he's facing one count of murder with use of a deadly weapon.
And that's another point that you bring up. There were 4 people in the car that day.
Right.
3 of them are dead.
3 of them are dead.
All because of gunfire.
Well, actually, yeah, I looked it up to see who was in the car with him because I knew there were 3 other people in the car. And one of them was his nephew. And the reason why
The nephew got beat up.
right, the drive-by shooting was supposedly in retaliation for Dwayne Davis, they also just call him the defendant's nephew, getting beat up by Tupac and some others who were with him.
Yeah, I thought I said that.
Yeah, so I'm sorry. So that's,
Yeah,
but
so
he was
I-
in the car. He actually died back in 1998, only 2 years after this happened, he was shot and killed in an unrelated gang-related shooting
Well, of
at a
course.
Compton car wash.
Of course.
Isn't that sad? 2 years later, he was killed, and then the other person.
Well, you act like it's surprising.
I know they
Teresa,
were all, but they all were killed in these. One of
if
them.
you are a gang member, two things are going to happen to you. One of two things: you're either going to go to prison or you're going to die. There's no third alternative. I mean, I guess his uncle is an exception to the rule because he's my age, so he survived. But there's no other. It's like the mafia.
The other two people that were in the car were, one of them was a guy called DeAndre Big Dre Smith, and he actually died, believe it or not, in 2024 of natural causes.
Did he
was
really?
The exception to the rule.
Yeah, I thought they all died with gunfire.
And then the third one that was in the car is a guy named Terrence Brown. I think he was called T. Brown. He was actually shot and killed in 2015. You ready for this? In an incident at a medical marijuana dispensary in Compton. That's how they died. Is it crazy, isn't it? So
I mean,
I don't know if that was gang related, but you know,
of course it was.
I don't know.
Of course it was.
I don't know. Well, what's really interesting about this case is, like you said, nobody else that was in the car. This was a drive-by shooting, and no one else that was in the car with the defendant is still alive to talk about it. They're all dead. So there's no witnesses, really, so to speak, to what happened inside that car.
There's no weapon. They don't have the car.
Right.
They have no physical evidence.
They have nothing. But what they do have are the defendants.
It's Dwayne Keith Davis.
They got him. And what was really interesting was he ended up, this isn't the first time that he talked about this case. He actually, in 2008, he actually gave a police interview with the Las Vegas Police Department. And it was a proffer that he was given where he said he was going to testify to certain things. And in exchange for that, they weren't going to prosecute, they were not going to use his statements against him. And it was related to this. But the problem was, he wasn't supposed to talk about it publicly, and he was quiet for a while. This happened in 2008. But then in 2019, he released this memoir that he wrote. Well, he didn't write it, but somebody else wrote it with him, called Compton Street Legend. And he authored it with a guy named Yusuf Jah. And that's a guy who writes about the Crips and the Bloods. He's kind of he's famous for
well-known member of the Black community.
Yeah, I wasn't familiar with him until I started researching this, but it's pretty interesting. And in that memoir, he talks about all kinds of details about what happened that night. He said that this was in retaliation for his nephew getting beat up. He said he went out and he got I think it was a Glock 48 caliber. He got the gun, he got the murder weapon. He brought it into the car. He either threw it or put it in the back seat, and that he orchestrated this whole thing. He took credit for it in his memoir in great detail. And the memoir was written in first person as though it's in his own words. But it really wasn't. I think he was probably just telling the guy what to write. But what he said, but when they went on the tour, they went on a book tour to sell the book. And he talked about how everything in the book is true. You need to go out and buy this book. It's a great book. I'm telling the truth. This is what really happened. All that kind of stuff.
He went on BET. He went on a Vlad podcast. He was
on YouTube.
Yeah.
He did all kinds of stuff. And it was all about, this is the real truth. This is about what really happened. And I think that he might have thought that he was safe because of that proffer that was made back in 2008.
Clearly.
Yeah, I don't think he ever thought that it would come back to haunt him, but it did. So when this book came out, Las Vegas Police Department went out and got a search warrant, and they went out to his house. He was living in Henderson, Nevada. They went out and got a search warrant. They picked up computers, all kinds of evidence that they got off the computer. They got a draft of the book was about to come out. They got drafts of the memoir, his notes and things like that as well from the search warrant. And then they ended up getting an indictment against him, a grand jury indictment. And they had arrested him as he was walking in his neighborhood that same day that the indictment was actually issued.
Back in 2023.
Yeah, so he's been in custody this whole time. He actually got convicted of, I think, assault on another prisoner while he was in prison. So he's in custody on that as well right now. He's in prison in Nevada, but he's been in prison for a long time. And if he is convicted of this, he'll probably be sentenced to life without possibility of parole. They're not looking for the death penalty in this case. But it is all based upon primarily on two things. Number one, his memoir and his statements. Number two, what he said to the Las Vegas Police Department during that interview back in 2008. And then three, sometimes some of the interviews that he gave, but primarily based on his own memoir. Isn't that sad?
Yeah.
By his own words.
No, it's not sad. It's justice. It's
Well,
it's karma.
if it's true,
karma.
it is. If it's true. But one of the things that I thought was so interesting about this is, a lot of people have said, well, wait a minute, how can you be convicted by your own statements? And why isn't this hearsay? And, all this stuff. How is that possible that it can come into evidence?
How
And
could it be hearsay?
well, remember, what is hearsay? It's an out-of-court statement that is said by somebody out of court to prove the truth of the matter asserted. But this is not actually hearsay. This is what's called, under Nevada law, also under federal law, and also under California law.
A confession.
No. Well, it's called an adoptive. No, it's not a confession because he didn't write it. He says his ghostwriter wrote it. Mr. Jaw wrote it. He claims, first he goes out and says it's all true. And then once he got arrested, he changes his story and said, it was all BS. I made it up. I needed the money. I was trying to sell a book. This was just fiction on my part. None of it's true. Believe me, I'm telling the truth now.
It's the only play he had.
Yeah, that's true. But it comes in, the judge made a ruling in just a few days ago that this was considered what's called an adoptive admission under Nevada law. But it's also the same under California law, and it's also the same under federal rules of evidence. An adoptive admission is when somebody else, let's say you're the defendant, somebody else says something and you act like you believe that it's true, then it's deemed to be adopted by you. And so that's why everything in that book is considered an adoptive admission. The judge was really, really detailed. It's a female judge and she did a great job. Not that it makes a difference that she's female, but I'm impressed by her. She went through the entire book and went through all of the evidence about what he said in his book, what he said in public about his book, and how his conduct and his words actually affirmed that he not only, one, knew what was in his book, he knew exactly what was said in his book, but he also manifested his intent and his belief that the things in the book were true. And under Nevada law, those are the two things that you have to show for something to be an adoptive admission. And if it's an adoptive admission, that means it's not hearsay at all. It's not even an exception to the hearsay rule. It's considered non-hearsay evidence, and it's considered truthful.
Yeah.
And the reason why is people are like, well, if it wasn't true, then you would say you wouldn't adopt it. You wouldn't go around telling the world that it's true if it really wasn't. And so that's why the courts consider that to be reliable evidence, and they let that sort of thing in. So it came in as an adoptive admission, and she also let in all the evidence that was in the police interview, all the statements that he made back in 2008. So all this is coming in, and his lawyer had made a motion to suppress that was denied. So I don't know. I don't know if he's going to get on the stand or not. Hopefully, I would think that he wouldn't, but I don't know what else he could do.
I would think he would have to.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of tough for him. The jury's going to have to decide whether or not he was BSing when he wrote that book, or whether he was telling the truth when he wrote that book.
This is, I don't mean to compare it, but there's a slight comparison to the Texas murder of the kid at the track meet, where the black kid stabbed the white kid, and they didn't have him testify. And I thought that was a gargantuan mistake, because your only hope, your Hail Mary, is maybe you could explain it away and can get a hung jury, because this is another slam dunk case. I know you don't like that phrase, because
I don't think there's any such thing as a slam dunk.
Well, I do.
Well, when you're talking about
that case
jury,
is a slam dunk, and this case is a slam dunk. And the only hope you have of upsetting a slam dunk is a Hail Mary. Throw it from the 50-yard line and hope somebody catches it. And that's testifying, and hope that you can just catch the ear of one juror who will hold out, and perhaps you get a hung jury. That's the best he can hope for. There's ain't no way in the world you're going to find 12 people in Nevada who's going to find him not guilty. No way in the world.
Tough. Well, it's supposed to be I think it's had a time estimate of 5 to 6 weeks as a jury trial. And actually, I think it was yesterday, or maybe it was this morning. I think it was yesterday. He waived the jury making a sentencing him. or
So
finding
he
what
wants
his
the
punishment.
judge to make the sentence?
He actually issued a waiver on the record this morning, or I watched it this morning. I think it was done this morning, about how if he's convicted of first-degree murder, he doesn't want the jury to do the sentencing. He wants the judge to do the sentencing.
That's interesting because
Yeah.
I would roll the dice with the jury.
He was pretty adamant. He seemed like he understood what he was doing. His lawyer was right there with him, and he waived it on the record. And so she'll be the one to do the sentencing on him.
If you were his attorney, would you recommend that?
I think it depends on the circumstances. Of course, he has a bad criminal record. So, all of that is going to come into evidence too in the sentencing. So I don't know that it would help him to be in front of a jury for sentencing. He's facing a lot. He's facing
life.
Well, he's got, there's different sentences that he can get after all of this.
25 years for a man my age is a life term.
Well, he's
my age.
For first degree murder, in Nevada, it's going to be either a 50-year term sentence, a solid 50 years, which is life, or it's going to be 20 years to life without parole, or it could be 20 years to life with parole, with the possibility of parole, just for that. But he's also charged with what's called 2 enhancements, which adds on to the sentence. The first one is called a gang enhancement because he was a member of the Crips.
Yeah.
And so with that, Bloods, Crips.
No, we don't use those terms.
We don't.
No, we don't.
Why?
Because I don't like giving them notoriety.
Oh,
I don't
I'm
like
sorry.
giving
Okay.
them. No, I don't
All right.
recognize them.
I take that back. I take those words back out of my mouth.
Thank you.
Forget I said that.
Okay, good.
Wipe that from the record. So there's a gang enhancement because he was alleged to be a gang member. Of course, he says he was the shot caller in his gang. And so there's also another enhancement on the charge for use of a deadly weapon. And so he's got 2 enhancements. And under Nevada sentencing law, that means that any sentence, if he gets convicted of first-degree murder with these 2 gang enhancements, that will increase the sentence by at least 20 years on each one, and those run consecutively. So he's going to get, if he is convicted, he's going to get all of those years plus another 20 plus another 20 at a maximum. He's never going to get out of prison. He will die in prison.
Should not. He should not.
Well, another legal issue in this case, I just think it's fascinating, is the use of memoirs. People using their autobiographies. They write about crimes that they committed. They put it in a book, and later on they get prosecuted for it, and they can't figure out what, huh? I guess they thought they were immune from that. So I did some research on that too. You ready for this?
Yeah, but hang on. Let me also mention that prospective witnesses or people are going to testify. Suge Knight may be dragged out of prison to come testify, and your boy Sean P. Diddy Combs may be. Suge has got to testify
because he was He says he's not going to.
Can you refuse?
Yeah, he can refuse.
Really? I didn't know that.
See, I'm not going to answer that question.
I thought it was like a subpoena. I thought you had to.
He can get on the stand and claim the 5th Amendment. They're writing against self-incrimination if he wants.
But you have to go to court, though.
They would drag him out of court. He's not going to drag him out of prison. He's not going to like that. But he would still have to, he'd have to get on the stand and he'd have to assert his right against self-incrimination, and then they can't make him testify. But they can disrupt him, performing his sentence if they want.
Because if he testified, he'd be dead in 2 or 3 days in prison.
So I looked in my research. I looked at
snitches get stitches.
Yep, that's right. Well, I looked to see who the potential witnesses were in this case, and I looked to see who the prosecution's witnesses were.
Yeah.
You ready for this? It's kind of interesting. You've got him, Suge, right? Isn't that how you pronounce his name?
Suge Knight.
He was in the car with.
He was driving.
Yeah, that night. So he
got hit.
He was the one who would know more about anything.
That's why
he's the last man standing.
They got to bring him to court, whether he takes the 5th or not. Which I think you're right, he will, because, like I said,
he says he's going to. He says he's not going to cooperate.
No.
No.
There's no way he goes out like that.
Another one, and I don't know why he's on the witness list, is the former Las Vegas mayor Oscar Goodman. Remember him?
Oh yeah,
he was quite the character.
I didn't even know he was still alive.
Yeah, he's on their list. He must be pretty old, but we'll see what he's going to testify about. Another one is
because he is the criminal attorney. He's the guy that represented Tony Spilotro, the mafia guy that ran Vegas for about 7 or 8 years. Have you ever seen the movie Casino?
Yes, with Sharon Stone.
Yes,
love that movie.
The Joe Pesci character.
Yes.
That's Tony Spilotro.
Ah, okay. Well, I know
and
Oscar
Lauren
Goodman
Clyer.
was
Lauren Clyer is watching or listening. He knows. I think he knew Spilatro's. He went to law school with Spilatro's nephew or something like that.
Wow.
Lauren, if you're listening, call in or text us.
Do you call him Lump or Lumpy?
I call him Lumpy.
Lumpy, hi out there. I love Lauren. He's wonderful. I hope he's watching. Hi, Lauren.
Or listening. Yeah.
Or listening. That's right.
He's a regular listener.
So another one that's on their witness list, you'll like this, is the Nevada Governor Joe Lombardo. He was a former sheriff.
I'm
He's
well
on their list.
aware of Joe Lombardo.
Members of the Shakur family, Reggie Wright Jr., who was the head of the Death Row Records security, and also a former police officer in the city of Compton.
Really?
Pretty interesting. Now, he was interviewed by, I think it was TMZ or somebody like, I think it was TMZ just a couple of days ago. And he said, this guy is saying stuff about me that apparently the defendant is claiming that he had something to do with it. And he says, that's a bunch of BS. I have nothing to do with any of this stuff. Yeah. But he's on the witness list for the prosecution, which I found very curious.
Well, not that I'm claiming that he's one of them, but there was a period of a lot of bad LA cops that made a lot of money by getting in cahoots with the gang members. That's what, I know you've never seen it, but the Denzel Washington movie Training Day.
I don't think I have seen that movie.
I knew you hadn't. But that's
How did you know I haven't seen that movie?
Because it's a black movie.
Oh, stop.
What?
That's not very nice.
Terry, do you go see black movies?
I see movies that have black actors in them.
Have you ever seen Do the Right Thing?
No, I've not.
Okay, that's all I'm saying. And it's not a knock. It's not a knock.
My feelings are hurt.
Why? Because you don't go see black movies? Well, then
start
seeing black movies.
I don't think of movies as black movies or white movies.
The movie that I alluded to?
Training Day?
Training Day. That's what that's based on, where Denzel plays a dirty cop who is in league with the gang members. And what they would do is they'd make a deal. We'll let you do what you do, but you give us some busts from your opponents or your rival gang members. Make me look good. I'll take care of you. You take care of me. Boop, 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 boop. So I'm not saying that he was one of them, but that's certainly, a Compton cop who gets into security with some pretty bad people.
Head of Death Row Records security, not just
Death Row was just nothing but gangsters.
Wow.
Suge was head of Death Row. It was nothing but gang members that was involved with that. So
the last person that's on their witness list, kind of interesting, and is a guy named Leonard Jefferson, and he took the last known photograph of Shakur right before the shooting.
Really?
Yeah, I think that's so. It's pretty interesting. I mean, it's going to be an interesting trial. It was supposed to be 4 to 6 weeks long, but because he waived the sentencing by the jury, it's going to be shorter now because they don't have to have a separate sentencing hearing in front of the jury after the verdict comes in if he's convicted. So I don't know how long it's going to be, but his whole theory of his case is
I lied. And
I lied.
I'm telling the truth now.
Yep, believe me now.
Yeah.
You don't believe me when I wrote it. I was just doing it to make money. So anyway,
that ain't gonna fly.
So I got to tell you about these other memoirs. This is really fun. You ready? Do we have time?
Yeah, sure. We got about 2 minutes.
So there's a case called United States versus Asante Kahari. That's a federal counterfeiting case. And that's a case where the guy published an autobiography called The Birth of a Criminal. And in that case, he described in detail this counterfeit check scheme that closely matched the federal charges that were later brought against him. They basically tracked what was in his book. And the prosecutors introduced excerpts from the book at the trial to show knowledge, intent, plan, preparation, identity, all the stuff. And the Sixth Circuit said that's admissible under the federal rules of evidence because basically it gave a roadmap for the crimes that he committed.
What about Hunter Biden?
That's the next one. His 2021 memoir called, remember that one? It's called Beautiful Things.
I can't.
That's the next one. I'm so impressed.
No. See, I can't lie. I was reading off your page.
Oh, okay. Well, that's the one. Remember the federal gun and tax case against Hunter Biden?
Yes.
That's one where they extensively cited passages from his book. And that was all admitted into evidence in that trial. I remember he was convicted on that one. And it had to do with all of his admissions about taking drugs and including when he purchased the firearm and what he did with the firearm and how they threw the firearm away.
What his woman did with the firearm.
Right.
His idiot wife threw it in a trash
can right outside a public place. Pretty interesting. So that was treated as a party admission, which is different than what we have here.
Yeah.
Another one was a gang-related case called the The true story of a California gangster. Same thing. Namor used it all against him. And
So
that's what's
stupid.
going to happen here.
So stupid. We got to go, Terry. I'm sorry I hurt your feelings about
Oh, I
going to
must tease it. Now I'm going to go look. Do I have to Google
Go see a black
movies?
movie. Teresa Goldner, everybody.
Kern Radio, AM 1230, KERN. 96.1 FM, K241CI Bakersfield, an American General Media station.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. Severe weather has affected an area from Chicago to eastern Ohio.
Ohio's Governor Mike DeWine warned residents about the severe weather sweeping eastward.
We are in a very dangerous weather situation that really involves all of Ohio. Flooding danger is going to continue to go up for a while.
In Chicago, tornado sirens sounded and flights were temporarily suspended Tuesday at the city's two major airports. More than 780,000 customers in Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio lost power. Footage shows damaged roofs, flooded roads, and trees tangled in power lines. Audio courtesy WSYX WTTE. I'm Jennifer King.
Arizona voters will see something unusual on the Democratic ticket in November. Governor Katie Hobbs has chosen a former Republican as a running mate.
Democratic Arizona Governor Katie Hobbs has chosen John Giles, a Republican turned independent, to be her running mate in a tough re-election campaign.
This is kind of a non-traditional selection, but it's a non-traditional office in the state of Arizona. So everything about this is new.
His name on the ticket is aimed at appealing to Republicans and conservative independents in a state that was once a GOP stronghold. The former mayor of Mesa was a registered Republican for decades until he changed his party affiliation to independent in May. The Republican nominee is U.S. Representative Andy Biggs, whose running mate is Sine Kerr. I am Marcela Sanchez.
Other races to watch on this primary Tuesday include Wisconsin's governor's race, where Democratic Socialist Francesca Hong tries to rise above establishment Democrat candidate David Crowley. In Minnesota, MyPillow's CEO Mike Lindell leads other GOP candidates vying for governor. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 184 points, the NASDAQ dropped 159. More at Town Hall.
Just hearing the word IRS can make people break out in a cold sweat. No one wants to deal with the IRS, and now you don't have to. The good news is Legal Tax Defense has been successfully negotiating with the IRS for more than 15 years. It doesn't matter how much you owe, whether it's $5,000 or $5 million. You deserve the best in the business on your side, and that is Legal Tax Defense. Even if you're working with someone else and just want a second opinion, there is no cost or obligation to call. They can prevent levies, liens, wage garnishments, even file back tax returns. And the best news about Legal Tax Defense is they won't take your case unless they know they will reduce or eliminate your tax debt. Call Legal Tax Defense right now for a free, no-risk consultation. 800-292-7875. 800-292-7875. You have nothing to lose but everything to gain. 800-292-7875.
From the KERN Newsroom, your live and local news update.
Kern County Animal Services wants to hear from you. I'm Bob Archer. They want to hear from people worried about loose and dangerous dogs in their neighborhoods. The department is holding a public safety meeting tomorrow night in Bakersfield. Director Nick Cullen says one of the biggest concerns is people being afraid to walk outside because a dangerous dog might be nearby. Officials say they'll explain how animal control calls are handled, what officers can do when they arrive, and what residents can do to help. The free meeting runs from 6 until 9 tomorrow night at Rusty's Pizza on Olive Drive at Victor Street. United Airlines has begun daily nonstop flights between Bakersfield and Los Angeles. Service from Meadows Field to LAX started today. United says the flight can be used for trips to Los Angeles or for connections to other cities. United now offers nonstop service from Bakersfield to Los Angeles, San Francisco, and Denver every day. Valley Plaza has added a new paid parking option. A small number of spaces close to the mall entrance are now set aside as preferred parking for people willing to pay. Most of the mall's parking remains free. Some customers say charging for parking at a Bakersfield mall is a step in the wrong direction. 2 California condors spent part of this morning perched near Bear Valley Springs. One was identified as a 4-year-old male known as Blue. The birds were caught on an alert California camera before flying off. It was a welcome sight as people all over the state and the country mourn the passing of Jackie the Eagle and Big Bear. And the heat is easing. Bakersfield should be peaking around 102 this afternoon, then around 99 tomorrow and 95 on Thursday. I'm Bob Archer in the Kern Newsroom with news every half hour and when it breaks on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230 KERN.
To the rest of in a month from now, this Hollywood big shot's gonna give you what you want. Too late. They start shooting in a week. I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
The Ralph Bailey Show. News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230 KERN.
And I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land.
Call in or text to 661-842-KERN. That's 661-842-5376. Listen live at KERNradio.com. Now, the host you've been waiting all day for. Live from the KERN studio, here's Ralph Bailey.
Hour 2 of the broadcast on this Tuesday, 11th day of August. Excuse me. This is the Ralph Bailey Show. That much I do know. On News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230, where we're streaming live at kernradio.com. Bring the music down real quick, Chris. Before we get to Howard, there's a couple of things that I want to mention. Sad notes. We talked about yesterday the passing of Don Clark, Don Nelson, very famous NBA basketball player and NBA coach. But I neglected to acknowledge the death of Lance McCullough, who was best known as a local coach. He coached at Garces, Bakersfield High School. He was under Paul Gola at both BHS and Garces and Independence. Is that where Gola went? Independence? And you've heard me allude to him often anytime I talk about amyotrophic sclerosis, better known as Lou Gehrig's disease, ALS. He suffered with it for over a decade. And whenever I would talk to Dr. Jeet Singh about ALS, I would always mention Mr. McCullough because he was a modern miracle. I think he suffered with ALS for about 15 years, but it never stopped him. He lost feelings in his legs and his arms, use of his arms and his legs, and he'd be out there when JR and I were broadcasting Garces games, Chris as well. He'd be out there in his wheelchair on the sidelines with his players. He went to Independence with Gola after they left Garces. Just a wonderful, wonderful man. I'm sure everybody knows Emily, his daughter. She is, I think, and I mean this positively, probably the biggest social butterfly in this community. So our thoughts and prayers go out to her and her 2 siblings. But he was just an incredible, incredible nice man. And I kind of formed a relationship with him when we were doing Garces games, and he will be missed. And then I got a phone call this morning from somebody who wanted to know if I was aware that Danielle Buckley had passed away. Danielle Buckley was the wife of Brad Buckley, who was part of the family that owned Buckley Radio when I was over at a different radio station. And his brother, Rick, was the patriarch of the Buckley family. And when he died, Buckley Radio essentially died. And I was just told that Danielle passed away at the age of 64. And it's just really, really sad. She worked here for years after she left Buckley Radio, which is another kind of interesting story. Her husband fired her. Not making that up. Brad was it was Buckley Radio, and she was a Buckley, and she got fired. And I just thought that was the most amazing thing. She was a wonderful woman. I wanted to quickly just recognize those 2 people. In the meantime, it is a Tuesday, so Howard Marcus is waiting patiently. How are you, Howard? You knew Danielle, didn't you?
Way to bring me down, man.
Yeah,
I knew Danielle pretty well because it used to be the Robin Danielle show, if you remember way back when.
Oh, way back when, before he got meningitis.
Yeah, he got spinal meningitis. It was encephalitis, wasn't it?
Was it encephalitis?
No, it was encephalitis. The thing where you get like a mosquito bite. West Nile kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And they tried to bring him back, but he just couldn't.
I was there when they tried to bring him back, and he just was.
Remember that? He could barely talk.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And I had debates with her because much as she was German, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
Born,
her mother was
her diction
extremely.
was absolutely perfect.
But not her mother's. Her mother had a very strong German accent. She was a wonderful lady.
Yeah, Danielle did not have one. No,
not at all.
And,
not at all. You would have thought Danielle was a cute little Southern California gal.
Yeah, you wouldn't know. Yeah, and no, we would debate on the air because I used to tease her because she wanted. She was always pro-development. I said, look, you don't want. She wanted a Starbucks every 50 feet and 14 Walmarts. I remember yelling with her over it.
We used to argue. I remember our constant argument, and this is just to go show you how long ago it was, because today we just go to our phones.
Yeah.
But she never believed me that you don't use an adverb on linking verbs. So you don't say, I feel badly for him. You don't, I feel bad. And we would, that was the constant argument we had. This goes
no, she's a very nice lady.
Oh, she's wonderful.
It must have been something, obviously, like a cancer. That's really young.
Or something, or an automobile accident or something. Because
we'll all see the obituary, I'm soon. But yeah, she was a very nice lady. And you're right. Yeah, she did that show with Rob for a long time. And then, I was on the show a lot. And now she obviously should be missed. And that's kind of, you're right. It's a blast from the past. That's the old radio stuff from, almost, 20, 25, 30, even 30 years ago.
30, because I was about 25, because I started with the Chris and Ralph show.
Okay.
And then that didn't work out. So then they teamed me up with Danielle for a little bit, and that didn't work out. And then I left Buckley Radio. But she was a beautiful woman inside and out. We were, at one point, we were really, really tight. We really, really were.
Yeah, she was a nice lady. I remember that. Yeah, that was, it's amazing when the radio market's dramatically changed. I started on the air, of all things I was winning contests on a place called, it was KKB Beach after B-Rock.
That's Clear Channel. Yeah, I worked there.
Yeah, I won so many CDs. They had the Howard Marcus rule. I was limited to one a month. You had to guess it was like name that tune with like 3 seconds on heavy metal, and I must have won like 30. They offered they offered me the DJ job.
Really? Why didn't you take it?
Well,
couldn't afford.
Yeah, honestly, the pay cut was horrendous. Yeah. That was when people don't realize when the radio market went through here, they had overvalued a lot of the radio stations and were probably boring the listeners. But then there was a dramatic shift. They'd overpaid for a lot of the stations and had to really cut back, and that's when a lot of the DJs got their salaries halved and all that.
Yeah.
Anyways,
what's the story that I always tell about Danielle? I can't remember. I just lost it. But yeah, she was a beautiful woman. She really, really was, and a lot of fun. Just a lot of fun.
I still remember the Rob and Danielle show. That's what I remember from. And then I'd be on there yelling at her.
Yeah, we would go at it pretty good. She was just wonderful.
Very polite, though. Very nice lady.
Absolutely. God, I can't remember the story I was about to tell. Oh, Vincent Brothers. I've often talked about how I went to a wedding and sat at the table with Vincent Brothers. It was at Danielle's house. It was Susan Clausen, our sales manager's wedding at the time when I was at Buckley. And they had the wedding at Brad and Danielle's house. And I sat next to this very nice African-American assistant principal. And 2 or 3 years later, he whacked his family. And he's now sitting up at San Quentin as we speak.
Look how many years, you were talking about that earlier. Look how many years he's sitting there. And that house, I almost call it the death house.
Yeah.
Right over there in, I think it was South P. It just sat vacant for years. Nobody in the right mind would buy it.
Oh, yeah. I pass it by every time I go to either the fairgrounds or the casino.
Yeah, right there. Yeah.
It's like a yellow house that's got.
Yeah, right on the corner of the street. Yeah.
Yep.
Very tragic.
Horrible story. And just before we get going, let me explain for the folks that don't know.
Yeah.
Vincent Brothers was an assistant principal who wanted to get out from the bonds of his estranged wife and child support. So after church, they came home, they took a nap. He snuck into the house, killed his mother-in-law, his estranged wife, and his 3 kids, including a 6-month-old child that he put a 44 to her forehead and blew her head off. Amazing.
Yeah, and his brother was involved with the alibi because he supposedly drove across town. Remember, he was cross-country, actually.
Well, do you remember how Lisa Green wrapped it up?
Mileage.
Huh?
It was the mileage.
No.
Oh, I remember the mileage.
It was the mosquitoes in the grill.
Yeah,
They were only mosquitoes or bugs that could be found on the West Coast, and that's what got him. That's what did him in.
Yeah, and I think his brother finally rolled over on him too.
Did he? Yeah.
Yeah, because the brother was the one who was part of the alibi.
Yeah, because that's where he was supposed to be going to visit.
Murder, just horrendous.
5 people, and the mom almost got him. She got a shot off, but it lodged in the doorway. She almost got him.
Yeah, it's just amazing. Yeah, but we have an interesting history here going back. Anybody that age of say 40 probably has no clue what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right. I did a column on him. I've talked about this. I did a column when I was writing a column for the Californian. You remember the period where everybody thought that guys in prison were wanting the death penalty because of the perks that the death penalty.
Perks, yeah.
They get their own cell. They get access, law library.
Yeah.
They get 24-hour phone service because they got to talk to their attorney. They're just certain perks that you get. And so there was this trend. People were saying that they want the death penalty because in California, who's going to get killed? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So you get to get on the death penalty, but you get all the perks, but you're not going to get murdered in jail unless it's by another prisoner because Gavin Newsom and these guys, Anyway, so what I did was I used brothers as the example in my column, called up to San Quentin, talked to his sergeant, and had him walk me through a typical week for Vincent Brothers. And it turned out that they get to shower like once a week. He gets like 4 minutes in the shower. He gets 20 minutes a day in the yard with, as I wrote, his fellow psychos.
Yep.
And they're, pretty much solitary confinement the rest of the day.
That's pretty grim existence, no matter however you look at it. I mean,
it is.
Even life. But, the problem is we 38 years, I think the one that was just executed, 38 years on death row for killing a little girl. And, that's the problem is that it's not necessarily even fair or swift. And, that's just something I don't know how we deal with it.
Yeah.
That's another subject, though.
Yeah. I'm going to throw you a curveball with the time we've got left.
Okay.
Did you see this signing in Massachusetts where the governor signed an abortion law that allows abortion up to birth?
That's insane. If you want to, look, I'm torn on this subject. I'll be honest. I've had a sea change in my attitude, and I thought I got to mention that. I think that is horrible because
it's murder.
It is murder at that point. Anywhere we've had previous babies being born in the 4th and 5th month that are viable, and certainly by the 3rd trimester, you should know with medical science if there's something horribly wrong. Either the mother is endangered, or there's something wrong with the baby.
Yeah.
Up to birth,
it's crazy.
You're murdering a child at that point. And the fact that you saw the video, which I did, they're applauding when she signs it.
Yes, they are. They're
part.
sitting around her desk, applauding.
Yeah.
And the other scary thing is, this is one of 10. One of 10 states.
10 states. I read the article. Yeah, here's the thing, real briefly. Whether you approve it or don't approve it, whether you think it's the government's choice to intervene, or it's a woman's body and all that, when the baby becomes viable, it is no longer an issue of a zygote or a clump of cells, which is the argument they always try to use. It is a viable human being. And I'll be honest, the debates I saw of all people with Charlie Kirk changed me from pro-choice to pretty much pro-life in the sense that once the baby is viable, you are terminating another human being that is totally innocent. And there are so many alternatives, and the exceptions for rape and incest are so such minuscule percentages. Birth control, adoption, so many other alternatives available to avoid these pregnancies. I've really changed my mind on it the older I get. And when they sign this kind of legislation, all they're doing is fueling the conservative viewpoint, because it's such a horrendous viewpoint that no sane person can say that should be saying that's a good thing.
I have a very dear friend who aborted a child in the 3rd month when he was in college.
Yeah.
And he tells the story that they had to go to 2 or 3 different clinics, and they finally got one that would do it. And he's in his late 50s, early 60s, and he's still haunted by it. Like whenever we get into a discussion about abortion, he'll bring that up, that he thinks, he says, I'm a murderer. I killed a child. And that was at 3 months. And they're talking about terminating a pregnancy at 7, 8 months.
9 months.
That's murder.
Up to birth.
Yeah, that's murder. That's murder.
I went through that, Ralph, when I was 19. My girlfriend got pregnant. And I was raised that it's, this is the 70s, her body, her choice kind of a thing. And I went to her and said, look, I can't tell you what to do, but if you keep it, we'll keep it, get adoption, I'll marry you, whatever you want to do, but I can't influence you. And she was a scared high school girl. The condom broke. She came from a family of abuse, which came out later, and she chose to abort the child.
Well, since we're going to be,
I went with her to the clinic.
Since we're going to be honest, that dear friend,
yeah,
is me.
Okay, so you know what I'm saying, man. We went through the same thing.
She did not tell me she was pregnant. One of my friends told me she was pregnant.
Yeah.
He literally said, "Can't you look at her, Ralph?" And then that night I looked at her and I was like, "You're pregnant, aren't you?" And she started wailing. And I said, "How far are you?" And she said, "I'm like 2 months and change." And I'm like, "Rhonda, have you gone crazy?" And we had to call, it was the third clinic that we went to. And I have been haunted by that my whole life. I tell people when I tell the story, I tell people I'm a murderer. I killed my baby at 3 months old.
Yeah, I'd have a 50-year-old child now.
Yeah.
I'd be a grandfather, obviously. For me, it was traumatic because the procedure didn't go well.
Really?
And it was very traumatic for her. And I didn't marry her, by the way. We were together for almost 10 years. And I made the offer. I did. I said, look, I love you. I'll marry you.
I did too.
An accident.
I did too. I said we could do this. We could move in together. We could finish school together. We could raise the baby together. And she was just adamant. There's no way in the world my parents would kill me. Boop, boop, boop. And I would never finish.
It was attitudes then too. You know, it's her parents would have been understanding. My mom would have been thrilled to have a grandkid, I think, looking back. But the reality was that I was just graduating and, just going to college, crappy jobs, and no income. She was still in high school. You're 2 years younger than me, and the reality of it was that just neither of us were really ready for a child, but I was willing to make the effort.
Yeah, I was a sophomore.
Well, that's the only thing I console myself with is I tried to do the right thing.
That's the only thing gets me by, and it still doesn't get me by.
No, I'm because I don't have children as a result. I don't, for whatever reason, I never had kids, and
it was a coincidence. I had me either.
What have been, what could have been, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I was a sophomore. She was a freshman.
Yeah. Nowadays it's so casually treated, and there are people on the street on the left that are so insane to say, "I wish I could have an abortion." Making those statements on camera, thinking for the shock value, or this bill signing that you've taken a procedure that should be a deeply thought, carefully planned decision, and making it of a life that is a throwaway, and mostly for political points. Now, this isn't about the mother's health, the baby. These become so partisan that people are making these choices and are advocating these things for reasons other than the mother or the child. That's the worst part.
It's become a form of birth control.
Yeah,
that's the issue, and that's insane.
Right, and that's unfortunate. And I mentioned this once before. The people that have multiple abortions, it's like, wait a minute, have you figured this out yet? And the reality is, if you haven't figured it out for the first time, I'm sorry, we're not going to give you anymore. You're going to bury the child, put it up for adoption, whatever you want to do. And there are families that will take them in.
You know who I blame for all of this? Lyndon Johnson. Johnson. Because welfare destroyed the Black American family. And what came out of welfare? What came out of the 60s that never existed in the Black community? What came out of the 60s was motherless, fatherless children and gangbanging. Those are two things that was a byproduct of welfare, where I've told the story about Shantae Cobb. I shouldn't have mentioned her name, but she was my receptionist when I worked in LA. We became good friends. She had a boyfriend who was a mailman. He was a postman. Probably back then he's making in the 80s, 90s, probably making 35 grand. And the federal perks, boop, 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 boop. They had a baby. And I said, Shantae, why don't you marry this guy? He's got a great job. He's going to have it for the rest of his life. He's going to have unbelievable perks when he retires. And she was like, you know what she told me? I would lose my WIC and my
No, they made
welfare.
It easier not to get married and to have children out of wedlock.
They have enabled it.
Financially viable.
Yes. And out of that, we got these boys that are raised by their mom. And out of that came gang warfare, in my opinion.
No, I agree. I mean, the Great Society was not a great society.
No, it wasn't.
A destruction of the nuclear family. It was a change in values. And you can see the end result 60 years later. It's been unfortunate. And they were all, it was intended for good purposes.
It was.
I understand the feeling, but
the Great Society,
government,
and it's completely connected black folks to the Democratic Party forever.
Well, you remember Lyndon Johnson's horribly racist comment.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'll
have those Negroes voting Democratic for the next 200 years.
Yeah,
and he didn't say Negroes. No, he did not. No.
But at the same time, I think you're now starting to see a disconnect there. I think you're seeing the betrayal, the abandonment of the blacks by the left, because conservative values that are traditionally belonging to, for example, blacks and Hispanics are frowned upon. And I think you're finally seeing a sea change in that to a certain extent.
What I'm loving is that black folks don't have anything to do with these democratic socialists.
No, they
don't have anything to do with them.
They aspire to the same things you and I. Look, middle class wants to be middle class, no matter what your color is.
Yep.
We all want the same things for our families. We want to have a house. We want to have families. We want to have a good job, and that's everything that DSA is not for.
Yep, you're absolutely right.
They want a leveling down to the adult greenness for all of us. And
absolutely right.
We're not that way. We're not built that way.
Yep. I got to fly, Howard. I didn't think this was going to turn into a confessional, but so be it. So be it.
Alrighty, sir.
All right, man. We'll talk to you next week. Howard Marcus. Quick time out. Not a lot of time before we get to the bottom of the hour. It's the Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230. We're streaming live at KernRadio.com.
Kern Radio, News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230, KERN. First Look with Scott Cox, morning 6 to 9 a.m.
On the Wednesday edition of the First Look program, we'll talk a little medicine with a friend, Dr. Vip Dev. John Cox is back from his latest covert-based vacation to administer the news quiz, and we've got news and traffic and weather. It's all happening 6 to 9 a.m. right here at News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230, KERN.
News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230, KERN.
It must be nice to be able to retire like Serena Williams and then say, I'm unretired. But for most of us, that's not the case. When we hang it up, that's about it. That's why you've got to be prepared for the late fourth quarter in your lives. And that's why I always stress that the smartest financial move I have ever made happened about 10 years ago when I became a client at Messmaker and Petrie Wealth Advisors. And the other thing I always remind you about, I've turned on colleagues here at American General Media to Daniel, and they could not be happier about what Daniel has done for them financially. Call Daniel Petrie at 395-9400, 395-9400, or just tune in on Thursdays. He appears here every Thursday at 4:30, and his office is located right on the corner of 21st and Oak. Daniel Petrie and the folks at Messmaker and Petrie Wealth Advisors.
This broadcast is for informational purposes only. It does not constitute investment advice or a solicitation for advisory services by Daniel Petrie or MPWA Incorporated, DBA, Messmaker, and Petrie Wealth Advisors. The program host is a client and receives compensation and other financial benefits in connection with this advertisement, creating a conflict of interest. Experiences discussed may not be representative of other clients.
Download to see if you qualify. Not all customers will qualify. Transfer fees may apply. No Albert subscription required. Albert is not a bank. Albert Instant Loans are issued by FinWise Bank, member FDIC. Not an actual client. Terms apply.
Kylie, what's wrong? I just got hit with a car repair bill. I'm behind on rent, and I feel like I can never save any money.
Have you tried the Albert app? Albert is your financial assistant, helping you find ways to save and create custom budgets to actually grow your money. Plus, you can get up to $10,000 for big expenses or advance up to $1,000 fast when you need cash right away.
Albert can get me up to $10,000?
Exactly. Albert spots you in a pinch and helps you grow your money in the long run.
I'm downloading Albert right now.
Download the Albert app and use promo code FAST to borrow up to $10,000 for whatever you need. The Albert app helps you budget better and save more money so you reach your financial goals faster. Download the Albert app right now and use promo code FAST to borrow up to $10,000. Use code FAST to borrow up to $10,000.
In 2026, Bay Alarm celebrates 80 years of security. With burglar and fire alarm systems, 24/7 in-house monitoring, and local service, our promise to the Central Valley remains the same. We got you. Learn more at bayalarm.com.
Hey, it's JR Flores. Catch my show, The JR Show, starting at 1 p.m. Now back to the Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230, KERN.
I love to sing about all I do, baby. Just think about you. Think about you. All I do is think about you. Shouldn't have brought that up. It's not my mind. Is totally just. I'm just not here right now. I'm really not. I'm in Atlanta, Georgia, and it's 1982. Just crazy how life is, man. But that's why I've always been pro-choice. Because what do you do if you're a young college student and you screw around and get pregnant? Your freshman, sophomore year. Quick timeout. We'll head to the back half of the hour. I'd stick around if I you.
With us for news, I'm Keith Peters in Washington. Primary elections are taking place in 6 U.S. states: Alabama, Connecticut, Minnesota, South Carolina, Vermont, and Wisconsin. Minnesota voters will settle a moderate versus progressive Democratic U.S. Senate primary on Tuesday between centrist U.S. Representative Angie Craig and progressive Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan. In the race for governor, Mike Lindell, known as the My Pillow guy, leads a crowded Republican primary with President Donald Trump's endorsement, while Senator Amy Klobuchar faces minimal opposition for the Democratic nomination. Severe weather has cut power to over 500,000 people in the Chicago area, Indiana, and Ohio. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 184 points, the NASDAQ dropped 159. More details at srnnews.com.
Kern Radio, News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230, KERN. Headlines from the KERN Newsroom.
I'm Bob Archer. The long heat wave is finally backing off. Bakersfield still expected to reach triple digits today, but tomorrow should top out around 99. By Thursday, forecasters expect a high around 95. Kern County Animal Services wants to hear from people worried about loose and dangerous dogs. The department is holding a public safety meeting tomorrow night. Officials say loose dogs are one of the complaints they hear most often. The free meeting runs from 6 until 9 at Rusty's Pizza on Olive Drive at Victor Street. And 2 California condors spent part of the morning perched near Bear Valley Springs. One was identified as a 4-year-old male known as Blue. The 2 birds were seen on an alert California camera for nearly 3 hours before flying away. I'm Bob Archer in the Kern Newsroom with news every half hour and when it breaks on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230 KERN.
Attention, Medicare beneficiaries in Kern County. Are you looking for a doctor who truly listens? Someone who cares about your health and respects your time with minimal wait times and prompt referral authorizations? Well, it may be time to learn about QualCare IPA. QualCare IPA partners with most Medicare Advantage health plans, giving you access to a large, community-based network of outstanding physicians and quality hospitals right here in Kern County. Local doctors, trusted hospitals, personalized care. Medicare Advantage plans offer benefits beyond original Medicare, but understanding your options for 2026 can feel overwhelming. That's where we can help. Call 661-554-4544 today to learn more about your Medicare Advantage choices. Our knowledgeable team is ready to help you understand your coverage options and make confident decisions about your care. Again, that's 661-554-4544. Get the information you need and the coverage you deserve. For accommodations of persons with special needs at meetings, call 661-554-4544, TTY 711.
First Look with Scott Cox, morning 6 to 9 a.m.
On the Wednesday edition of the First Look program, we'll talk a little medicine with a friend, Dr. Vip Dev. John Cox is back from his latest culvert-based vacation to administer the news quiz, and we've got news and traffic and weather. It's all happening 6 to 9 a.m. right here at News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230 KERN.
News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230 KERN.
Hey folks, Scott Cox here, host of the First Look with Scott Cox radio program. You are listening to the Ralph Bailey Show right here on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230 KERN.
To KERN. Let's check the board real quick. What do you got, Chris?
The ruse with the president doesn't really work if everyone participates.
Yeah, but all they had to say was we're having mechanical problems. We all have to use the other plane. I just find it inexcusable that the Secret Service would allow anybody to get on a plane that they deemed unsafe. Like, how would they have spun it had that plane been shot out of the sky? This is all based on Washington Post reporting that discovered this. And, you know, you can only keep something so secret. I've told you guys, you know what journalism is all about? Journalism is about relationships and getting people to trust you so that when they know something that everybody wants to know, they trust to tell you. That's what journalism is all about. Getting people to tell you things they have no business telling. And so somebody in the Secret Service would have ratted out that the reason that Donald Trump didn't die on that plane is because we knew that it was a security risk. And then all the questions would have come to surface. Well, then why didn't you tell the White House staff that died on the plane? Why didn't you tell the senior military officials that were on the plane and died? Why didn't you tell the White House press corps who was on the plane and died? They couldn't have explained it because Trump would have been alive. And what would have been amazing is the lead story would have been President of the United States dead. And then they would have been like, no, not really. No, not really. It's a crazy story. And how they ended up using the plane anyway. So he boards Air Force One. They sneak him off on a catering truck. You know those catering trucks? It's like those handicap things on a bus. Like when we do honor flight, they have these mechanisms where they can lift up and put the wheelchairs on the bus and get the people on the bus, and it kind of elevates. Well, that's what this catering truck does. It elevates all the way up as high as a plane. And that's how you get the food stuff on and blah, blah, blah. And he snuck out through that, got on a military plane, flew to Britain, then got back. And this is what they can't explain, how he got back on Air Force One. They flew that somewhere, and then they all got on the Qatari plane and went back to the United States. But to use the White House staff, press corps, and military officials as dupes, as decoys, as living, breathing decoys in a plane that you just deemed was unsafe for the president is, in my opinion, inexcusable. What I mean, think about it. You're a proud father and mother, and you're at home, and your daughter has done the right thing. She went to high school, she went to college, and now she's made it to the pinnacle of journalism, covering the White House, covering the leader of the free world, and she's killed in a plane that the Secret Service deemed unsecure, but Donald Trump is fine. So many families, I mean, I should have asked Teresa when she was in here, could families have sued the government for that? Isn't that almost like an accomplice in murder before the fact? I don't know, I'm just making up laws as I go. But it seems like it should be criminal. That if you know something, like let's say you're a bus driver, and you realize that your bus isn't safe, and then you get into an accident. Aren't you kind of responsible? Or isn't the company, if the company knew that the bus was unsafe, aren't you responsible? I don't know. What else you got?
Ralph, the issue is Trump leaving his staff as bait for the terrorists. That's what Trump thinks of Americans. They are all disposable.
Oh, that's stupid. You really think that Donald Trump makes security decisions? That's about as dumb a thing as I've ever heard. The president of the United States, no matter who he is, has no say in his security. That's the one area in which the president has to do what the Secret Service says. We witnessed it in Butler. No, I want to stay. No, Mr. President, we need to get you out of here. Hang on, let me get one more pose. No, Mr. President, we need to get you out of here now. You know what I'm saying? That is idiotic to think that the president makes his security plans. Good Google it, Mook. What are you, 10th grader? What else you got? Anything intelligent in there?
Let's see. History tells us that the Democrats win the House, and if we can win 20 seats, we can remove him from office.
I'm not so sure about that. I know history tells us that an incoming president, and he is, despite the fact that he was in the House before, always loses the first midterms. Always. In fact, the only person in recent history, and I've talked about this constantly, is George W. Bush. Why was that? It was post 9/11. He had an approval rating literally of like 75% or something. Him and his dad at different junctures of their administrations had some of the highest approval ratings ever. Remember after we kicked Saddam out of Kuwait? Freaking George Bush's, the dad, George Herbert Walker Bush's approval rating was like 78%. And then, of course, the famous words, read my lips, no new taxes, came back. And then Ross Perot got involved and took 20% of the Republican vote. And Bill Clinton becomes president, not even with a majority of the votes of the country. Crazy, crazy. And after 9/11, and after that famous pitch that I always allude to, where George Walker Bush was just a couple of days after 9/11. In fact, they had postponed the World Series, and they got it back up on its feet. Or maybe it was the September, maybe it wasn't the World Series, maybe it was the playoffs. But that famous thing, I've told this story where George Bush is about to throw out the first pitch, and he's down in the Yankee clubhouse. And Derek Jeter walks by. The president says, hey, Derek, DJ, what's going on, man? Nice to meet you, Mr. President. He said, where are you throwing the ball from? And he said, from the base of the mound. And he said, Derek looked at him and shook his head. Don't do it. And George Bush was like, what? Don't do it. They'll boo you. You got to do it from the rubber. I said, all right, I'll do it from the rubber. And he says, don't bounce it and don't throw it over the catcher's head. And George Bush was like, what? He said, don't bounce it. In fact, I think he said, don't bounce it. He said, you'd be better off throwing it over his head, but don't bounce it. And he was like, okay. And Bush tells the story. That's when I got nervous. He said, I wasn't really nervous until I talked to Jeter. And as we all know, he got up there with a bulletproof vest on and the entire world watching him and threw a perfect strike. I mean, it could not have been a better pitch. But we've never seen approval ratings like that. So I thought that there would be a bloodbath. But now you got these Democratic socialists. I honestly don't know. I said this yesterday. I have no idea who's going to win the House and the Senate now. I really don't. And tonight will tell us a lot. In fact, after the break, I'm about to get into this Wisconsin gubernatorial race where this Democratic socialist, Francesca Hong, is about to beat a moderate brother who's running for governor up in Wisconsin, which is to Republicans' advantage, if you ask me. Absolutely. Maybe you can dominate the Democratic Party, but socialism will never dominate this country. Never, never, ever, ever. And again, remember who is all on board with socialism. Where did she dominate? 18 to 29-year-olds. Fong in Wisconsin is polling at 70 to 80% with 18 to 29-year-olds. White, college, educated, 18 to 29-year-olds. And I explain that, in my opinion, why that is. Because these kids are now faced with reality. They're faced with reality. They've got this philosophy degree, and, you know, what are they going to make with that? 50, 60, 70 grand maybe? Teaching at a community college? Or no, you can make more money than that at a community college, believe me. But, I mean, you're making about 100 grand. And you're 75, 100 grand in debt. And the idea of you living in that 5-bedroom, 3-bath house that you grew up in has vanished. In fact, I was watching something this morning where they're saying, you know, the average house now is going for like $1 million in some states, in some communities. $1 million, 7 figures for a home. And those kids now realize, I'm not going to have the American dream that my parents had. So when Mamdani and these Democratic socialists are talking about free this, free that, free this, do that, that's all they hear is free. They don't hear, I want to get rid of Thanksgiving. They don't hear, we want to get rid of the cops. They don't hear, we want to get rid of the presidency. We want to get rid of the Senate. These are literally their stances, which can dominate the Democratic Party, but it ain't going to dominate the state of Wisconsin. That's my guess, not prediction, guess, because I have no idea. I really don't. This democratic socialism thing is, it's a new part of the equation that really nobody can honestly say they know how this thing's going to come out. One more, and let's take a break.
Ralph, thank you and Howard for sharing your experiences with abortion. I also had a similar experience in my younger days, and although the final decision wasn't up to me,
I have regretted that decision ever since. I admonish people to think long and hard before making a decision that will haunt you for the rest of your life.
You know, Jazz McKay often said one thing that I 100,000% agreed with, and I always thought this was the most brilliant take he ever had in his whole long career. And that was the idea that the man has no say in abortion. Absolutely none. And I just thought that was brilliant because, and maybe I was lucky. I don't know. I really don't know. But I was absolutely willing, because I was a 19-year-old idiot, to drop everything and marry Rhonda Lynn Killens. I absolutely was. I absolutely was. I was a sophomore. She was a freshman. I was in good standing at Morehouse. I was still going to school. It wasn't until my junior year that I stopped going to class. And I said, we could do this. We could move in right now. Both our parents would support us until we finished school. And she just wouldn't have it. And maybe that's lucky. I don't know. I think I saved her from poverty. She went on to become Claire Huxtable. She became an attorney and she married a gynecologist. But yeah, I just kind of vomited that. I've alluded to that and always said it's a friend. But once Howard confessed, I figured I just turned 64. What do I give a crap? Happened 30 years ago, 30, 40 years ago. And if you want to judge me at my age, then judge me. But yeah, it was murder. It was murder. That child was 3 months old. And it was murder. And it haunts me. You have no idea how it haunts me. Let's go ahead and take a break. When we come back, we'll get into the Wisconsin primary. You will hear from the socialist, Francesca Hong. Also down in South Carolina, my daddy's home state, Lindsey Graham's sister is trying to carry on his legacy. However, she ain't going to win tonight. There are 4 Republicans involved in the primary, including Ralph Norman, a very popular South Carolina congressman, and Mark Sanford, a former South Carolina governor. So there's no way she wins a majority, but she'll get into the primary. She'll be one of the top 2. Can she beat Ralph Norman or Mark Sanford? Because I would bet it's going to be either Norman or Sanford. I'm going to say Sanford. I'm going to say the former governor will be the other her opponent in the midterms. We'll talk about that and the Minnesota situation. The pillow man, Mike Lindell, the biggest grifter in the world, is going up against Amy Klobuchar. So that's a gubernatorial seat we're going to lose. Mike Lindell couldn't beat me. He's about as dishonest a grifter as you'll ever meet. A successful grifter, but you know, P.T. Barnum was successful. Just saying, this guy, he is a wackadoo, election-denying grifter, as most election deniers are. If you're an election denier, you're probably not that honest. Quick timeout. It's TRBS on a Tuesday, right here on Newstalk 96.1 and AM 1230. We're streaming live at kernradio.com.
Kern Radio, News Talk 96.1.
Luigi's.
Well in the morning, good till the last mic drop.
The state of California needs money because of the way we've been spending our Medicare money. They decided that we need to talk to you guys about this. How about if we withhold $867 million from you? Will that get your attention? You now have the Trump administration, and they have greater expectations of you. So if you can't deliver, they ain't going to deliver either.
Weekdays 9 to noon, News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230, KERN.
Great way to beat the heat. Have lunch at Luigi's Restaurant and Old World Delicatessen. I know what you're saying, but Ralph, I like being out on the patio. Well, that's fine. Even on a day like today, Gino's got the misters out there, and it's like you're in a totally different city. And of course, you know what I keep telling you guys every single day? Start with the delicatessen. Go in and say hello to Lynette, the sommelier. Try maybe one of her Italian wines. She is one of the best sommeliers and one of the experts on Italian wines. Check out the merchandise for your kids or your grandchildren. And again, as I always remind you, if you're a foodie, the Luigi's Delicatessen is the place for you. And I'm sure all of you, almost all of you, have been to the warehouse for one situation or another. It's been an absolute game changer for the Valpredo family. Again, I've told you, Gino was the Michael Corleone of Luigi's. Never thought he'd get involved in the family business, and now he's taken it to a whole nother level. Where would you rather be than at Luigi's Restaurant and Old World Delicatessen, longtime sponsor of the Ralph Bailey Show?
The U.S. Department of Agriculture is urging poultry owners to stay alert during the largest bird flu outbreak in U.S. history. Highly pathogenic avian influenza has affected more than 197 million birds since 2022. As wild birds migrate this fall, having the right biosecurity measures in place is vital to keeping poultry healthy. USDA Undersecretary Dudley Huskins is here to tell us more.
Biosecurity is the best defense producers have against disease, and USDA is here to help. We offer free biosecurity assessments and practical tools so producers can protect their flocks and keep their operations strong. Our focus is farmers first, because when agriculture is secure, our nation is secure. We want America's producers to thrive.
USDA also offers online tools and resources to help flock owners strengthen biosecurity. To learn more, search USDA Defend the Flock.
Meet Paul Sheldon's client, Dr. Roland Rodriguez. Hello, this is Bakersfield General Surgeon Dr. Roland Rodriguez, client and friend of Mr. Paul Sheldon. It is my great pleasure and privilege to relate to all of you my absolute exemplary experience with Team Paul Sheldon. I have also referred a number of my colleagues to Paul Sheldon's office, only to receive the most stellar feedback from my doctor friends regarding the office's expert navigation through the complex maze that is Medicare. And even though Paul Sheldon himself is now facing some temporary health challenges, his longstanding and most experienced and expertly trained team of ladies, Christine, Kelly, and Lynn, continue to masterfully guide the clients through the complicated world of Medicare. You most definitely could not possibly do any better than to reach out to Paul Sheldon several months before turning 65. Thank you.
When Medicare matters, our team has the answers. Team Paul Sheldon.
398-2298. Hey, it's JR Flores. Catch my show, The JR Show, starting at 1 p.m. Now.
A gift from Derek Jeffries, the general manager at Channel 17. Can you all see that? Little 17 coin. I have a bunch of these.
You really?
Most of them from Martinez and Martinez, our good friends. And I just, a bunch of
like the
honor flight things.
Yeah,
and
commemorative coins.
Yeah. Thank you, Derek. Appreciate that. As I said, there are primaries going on. In fact, the polls are probably closed. It's 5 o'clock, so it's Wisconsin. Is that Central? Hang on a second. Hey, Siri, what time is it in Wisconsin?
Third Central.
Central?
Yeah.
So it's
6:53.
7. So they still got another hour. I'm sure they stay open till 8, just like most states. And it's battle for the Democratic primary to see who's going to go up against Tom Tiffany, a congressman out of Wisconsin, for the gubernatorial seat. And it is Francesca Hong, who I've been talking about all day. And the closest rival is a man by the name of, Ralph, did you write it down? David Crowley, who is an African-American state representative. Doesn't have a chance in the world, in my opinion. We'll see. But just to give you some sense of who this woman is and her stance, here is Francesca Hong.
I was actually trying to become a sports journalist when I first went to college. So I learned then you have some hot takes, sometimes bad takes on Twitter. And I let my feelings out into the world. And right now, as governor, what I'm most serious about are the issues that voters are telling me they want solutions for.
One of those tweets was condemning of Thanksgiving. Here's what she wrote. And this is what I talked about at the top of the show, like how you can have a take 6 years ago and then just kind of walk away from it. Here's what she wrote. The title was Cancel Thanksgiving. Should have done it in 1621. If it takes a worldwide pandemic for us to realize we should stop celebrating colonialism and the original super spreader event that kills indigenous folks and women, so be it. She obviously took that down, but that only, in my opinion, in some cases, draws more attention to the situation. She's also against funding the police. They're against borders. They want to get rid of the Senate. They want to get rid of the presidency. They believe in, she wants to do the Mamdani and start state-run banks and grocery stores. State-run banks and grocery stores. And like I said, there is a crazy, bizarre, I don't even know what you call it, in the Democratic Party, where they're trying to figure out, do we get out in front of this movement? Or are Republicans licking their chops, hoping that we get in front of this movement and we nominate all these Democratic socialists who have no chance of winning in a general election? This is kind of a reverse of what Trump went through for a while, where so many of the Trump candidates that were endorsed could win the primary. Classic example, Herschel Walker. I don't know if you remember the Herschel Walker campaign. That was one of the most fun campaigns I've ever had because I got to make fun of Herschel Walker on the daily. He was an idiot. Great football player, one of the best collegiate running backs in the history of college football. In fact, I rank him up in the top 5 with Earl Campbell, Herschel Walker, maybe Tony Dorsett, Anthony Davis, and
Reggie
Bush. Yeah, I'd throw Reggie in that category. Absolutely. Those 5. He was a bad man. He really, really was. But he was a horrible candidate and obviously couldn't win the general. And that's what we're about to find out in a couple of months, how these Democratic Socialist candidates are going to do in general elections. I don't, to be honest with you, I think these 18 to 29-year-olds who are glomping onto the Democratic Socialist Party don't even understand what socialism is. And I think once they start to hear, get rid of the presidency, get rid of the Senate, no borders, now they've advanced from defund the police to abolish police. It's one thing to campaign on abolish ICE. That's pretty popular right now. But what do you do with pedophiles with no cops in prisons? What do you do with murderers? I mean, there's sometimes when I do this show and I say things, my brain says, do you really have to tell people this? Do you really have to say this out loud? That if we get rid of prisons, what the hell are we going to do with the criminals? It boggles my mind that an adult man has to say that on the radio. But that's where they stand, and they're proud of it. And so I don't know, because the word free goes a long way, Jack, especially with young people. It goes a long way. Very powerful word, free. What? Free rent? Free daycare? Free transportation? What? You know what I'm saying? But are these young people stupid enough to try to reshape America? To basically get rid of our Constitution? Because if you're tearing apart all of these traditions of America, for lack of a better term, you're basically tearing up the Constitution. Because within the Constitution provides the power of the presidency, the power of the Senate, the role of the House, et cetera, et cetera. And if you're tearing that down, you've basically taken the Constitution and torn it up. And I shouldn't have torn that up because I have to read that later.
It's fine. We can run the one I got.
Oh, I can still read it. I was about to put it in You know, I was gonna.
I was wondering if
and make confetti. I really was. I was gonna do the whole thing and then throw it up as confetti. I'm glad I didn't. Quick timeout. We're heading into the 5. We'll talk about the greatest golfing cheat ever. Wait till you hear this story if you haven't already heard it, where a guy faked a hole in one to win a couple of grand. I'll tell you how he did it when we come back. It's the Ralph Bailey Show on a Tuesday, 11th day of July, on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230, where we're streaming live at kernradio.com.
Kern Radio, AM 1230, KERN, 96.1 FM, K241CI Bakersfield, an American General Media station.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. Severe weather cut power to more than 500,000 people in the Chicago area and northwestern Indiana as perilous thunderstorms and extreme wind gusts pummeled the region Tuesday, causing widespread damage. In Ohio, power outages swept the state capital region and at least one death was reported. Ohio Governor Mike DeWine.
Sadly, we have had one fatality in Roseville, one fatality that we're aware of. This was an individual who died simply because they could not, had an emergency, and they could not get to that individual.
More than 290,000 customers were without power in that state. A Texas town council meeting turns heated over a proposed Islamic Center expansion. Willie Nelson reports.
The McKinney, Texas City Council unanimously approved a major expansion of the Islamic Association of McKinney, despite fierce opposition from more than 150 residents. The plan would create a 5.5-acre campus able to hold up to 2,000 people. Residents and a Sharia law survivor warned about the spread of Sharia practices, child marriage, and threats to American values. Congressman Keith Self also spoke against the project and received a standing ovation. Willie Nelson, Washington.
Primary elections are taking place in 6 U.S. states. The Democratic primary for Wisconsin governor is a high-profile clash between the party's establishment and progressive wings, as Democratic Socialist Francesca Hong tries to rise above establishment candidate David Crowley. In a Republican primary for U.S. House, Trump-backed candidate Michael Alfonso, the 26-year-old son-in-law of U.S. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy, is seeking to win Duffy's former district. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 184 points, the S&P lower by 24. More at townhall.com.
Ready for a bathroom upgrade that won't disrupt your life? Jacuzzi Bath Remodel is here to help. Take the stress out of renovations with quick, professional service from the name America trusts. Affordable, stunning selection of tubs and showers, each designed with style, safety, and your budget in mind. With customizable features like grab bars and seats, your new bath or shower will meet your entire family's needs.
I absolutely love my new bathroom. It's very hard to believe that they get it done in one day. Jacuzzi really outdid themselves.
Right now, we're waiving all installation costs, plus offering no interest and no payments for up to 1 year. Call now to schedule your free design consultation and quote. Call 800-583-2977. That's 800-583-2977. 800-583-2977. With purchase and installation, financing through third-party lenders, subject to credit approval. No interest and no payments if paid in full within 12 months. Interest charged from purchase date if not paid in full. Not all will qualify. Call dealer for details.
From the KERN Newsroom, your live and local news update.
Kern County Animal Services wants to hear from you. I'm Bob Archer. They want to hear from people worried about loose and dangerous dogs in their neighborhoods. The department is holding a public safety meeting tomorrow night in Bakersfield. Director Nick Cullen says one of the biggest concerns is people being afraid to walk outside because a dangerous dog might be nearby. Officials say they'll explain how animal control calls are handled, what officers can do when they arrive, and what residents can do to help. The free meeting runs from 6 until 9 tomorrow night at Rusty's Pizza on Olive Drive at Victor Street. United Airlines has begun daily nonstop flights between Bakersfield and Los Angeles. Service from Meadows Field to LAX started today. United says the flight can be used for trips to Los Angeles or for connections to other cities. United now offers nonstop service from Bakersfield to Los Angeles, San Francisco, and Denver every day. Valley Plaza has added a new paid parking option. A small number of spaces close to the mall entrance are now set aside as preferred parking for people willing to pay. Most of the mall's parking remains free. Some customers say charging for parking at a Bakersfield mall is a step in the wrong direction. 2 California condors spent part of this morning perched near Bear Valley Springs. One was identified as a 4-year-old male known as Blue. The birds were caught on an alert California camera before flying off. It was a welcome sight as people all over the state and the country mourn the passing of Jackie the Eagle and Big Bear. And the heat is easing. Bakersfield should be peaking around 102 this afternoon, then around 99 tomorrow and 95 on Thursday. I'm Bob Archer in the Kern Newsroom with news every half hour and when it breaks on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230 KERN.
Welcome to the rest world. In a month from now, this Hollywood big shot's gonna give you what you want. Too late. They start shooting in a week. I'm gonna make them an offer again with you.
The Ralph Bailey Show. News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230 KERN.
And I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land.
Call in or text to 661-842-KERN. That's 661-842-5376. Listen live at KERNradio.com. Now, the host you've been waiting all day for. Live from the KERN studio, here's Ralph Bailey.
Final hour of the broadcast on this Tuesday, 11th day of August. This is the Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230. We are streaming live at kernradio.com and on YouTube. Just go to YouTube and punch in Ralph Bailey, and a guy in a wrinkled white shirt should pop up. Freckles. If you missed our interview with Teresa Goldner or our discussion with Howard Marcus, you can go back later on in the broadcast. Can they, this is what I've always wanted to ask you, can they, in the middle of the show,
Go back? Yeah.
go back?
Yeah.
So you can go right now and go back to 3:30 and listen
Absolutely,
to
if you wanted to. Yeah.
Okay. So you have that available to you as well. 842-5376, 842-KERN. Coming up, we're going to talk about what Derek Carr is up to. Have you heard about this?
I did, yes.
And we'll talk about what Puka Nacua may not be up to. And Alaric Johnson as well. There could be some suspensions that are going to be handed down for some of the off-season activities of some of these guys. You know about Puka and this Alaric Johnson. I've never heard of the guy. I think he's with the Chiefs.
Yeah, he's a God, I can't remember what position he's at actually.
Had a little domestic violence problem over the
Yes.
summer. So the league can't put up with that. He's got to be suspended 2 or 3 games. Absolutely. Pakua, that's a different deal because at least he went to rehab.
Yeah.
He fessed up. He handled it like a man. As I've said, what has done Tony Romo in is how he handled it.
True.
I keep telling you guys, if there's anything I know that it's never the error that you make in life because then we'd all be screwed. We're all flawed. The test in life and the true illustration of character is how you handle screw-ups. When you absolutely stub your toe, when you absolutely do something idiotic and out of character that's going to make you look stupid and idiotic, how do you handle it? And Tony Romo, for the folks that may not, the 3 people that don't know about this story, CBS analyst, the number 1 guy with Jim Nantz, the god of CBS sports broadcasting, the number 1 spot, life by the tail, beautiful wife, bunch of kids. He's a stick. He always competes in the celebrity tournament up at Lake Tahoe. He participates in other golf outings. And he was coming from a golf outing and was driving wackadoo. And somebody ratted him out, called the cops, as people are wont to do in the 21st century when they see people driving erratically. He gets stopped. And the first question is obviously, have you been drinking? And he said no. That was his first mistake. Once the gig is up, you got to just tell the truth. When I got mine in 2006, I literally told him I was coming from downtown. Buddies of mine had rolled into town about 10:30 at night. I was sitting on my couch at 10:30 at night. And my boys called me, two of my friends called me and said, we're at some place called The Cat. And I'm like, what are you talking about? There's no bar named The Cat. And they're like, hang on a second. Guthrie's? I'm like, oh, Alley Cat, you're there. I'm right downtown. All right, okay, I can be there. Literally got up off the couch at 10:30 at night on a Tuesday night, got dressed and went down and met them. And we literally closed the place, had a great time. Literally the last thing I did was finish my drink, and I was parked right outside in front of Crash, as a matter of fact, the bar at Crash. And if you ever notice, when next time you go downtown, the parking slots are on a slant. And I had what is now obsolete. I had a 5-speed back then. And I distinctly remember this saying to myself, you know, if I have problems, because I was not good at a 5-speed, and I said, if I had problems putting it in reverse and going backwards, I'm going to shut it down. You know, if it stalls and I look stupid, there could be a cop looking, I'm just going to shut it down and go back inside. And unfortunately, I put it in reverse and it smoothed out. And, you know, Alley Cat from my house is literally walking distance. It's where I walk when I get my haircut, right around the corner. I walk home every time I get my haircut. I could have walked. I could have got a $5 cab ride. I could have gone in and partied some more and called a cab, but no. I thought I could make it. I was just going, you know, literally maybe 2 miles, and I was making the left on F. I lived on D at the time, and they stopped me right in front of the junior league. What is that place called? The junior league building, that brick building right there off of F. Beautiful building. I think it's the junior league. And I remember they were CHP guys in jumpsuits, so they were specifically looking for drunk drivers. And again, like I've always said, like on a Tuesday night, 9, 10, 11 o'clock, well, this was 1:30 in the morning, where are you coming from? Where the hell are you coming from at 1:30 at night? And they stopped me coming down F, and I just said, we don't even have to do the thing. Let's just deal with it. And then at that point, you're done. So the best thing you can do is cooperate and be polite. And Tony Romo was not. He lied to the woman. Then he did some bizarre stretchings before they did the DUI test. Like, what are you doing? He literally was behind the police car doing this, doing stretches. I got a bad back. I'm a former football player. It's like, what are you doing? And just acted bizarre. And the story about, unless, as Chris believes, Chris' theory is when he alluded to he was going to grandpa and grandma's house, he was talking about his parents. And that's how he alludes to, you know, his parents, his grandma and grandpa, because he has kids. I think he was looking for some sympathy. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. It's just, and it was in the middle of the afternoon, and that's why he's cooked. You know, it's never this mistake that you make. It's always how you handle it. It really, really is. And I think Nakua handled it like a man. You know, he fessed up. He didn't deny it. He went straight to rehab. And now he's a new man. What do you think he gets? The domestic violence guy's got to get more than Nakua.
No, Puka's maybe. I don't even know if they're going to suspend Puka, to be honest with you, because it's kind of in the back burner now.
Well, no, Adam Scheffler is saying
they're talking about it.
Yeah, yeah.
Because the one that I was suspecting was going to get a big penalty was James Pierce from Atlanta, the one that ran his car into Rakia Jackson, the WNBA player, and his former girlfriend. You don't remember this?
No.
At some point in the summer, the defensive end from Atlanta who was dating Rakia Jackson, who's a WNBA player for the Sparks.
Right.
They broke up. She distanced herself from him, and he couldn't take that. So he was stalking her and all this other type of stuff to the point where she had to call the cops on him. Well, allegedly, because again, it's all in court right now. He rammed his car into her car multiple times. And yeah, like it was a really ugly situation. So that one.
Well, it's not like Nakua didn't do anything. He did bite that girl.
And apparently, that's the other thing I was going to bring up.
In a drunken stupor.
Puka's situation is getting worse because these people are now coming out with even more videos and pictures and stuff like that.
Him acting stupid and drunk.
Yes. Yeah. And him doing it multiple times. So that's where he's going to get in trouble for it. But you're
Yeah.
right. Him fessing up, going to rehab, and now being past that may allow the NFL just to say, you know what?
Maybe one game.
Maybe.
Maybe two.
Yeah. Because he's also not somebody who got in trouble a whole ton outside
No.
of this offseason.
But the domestic violence guy, that's got to be 4 games.
Yes, 100%.
That's
At least.
They can't.
Very least.
Yeah. Speaking of suspensions, did you see that Sophia Cunningham continues to make money on anything but basketball? She's now got a T-shirt where the picture on the T-shirt is Carrington's hand on her face, where she basically clotheslined her. And I think the T-shirt's brilliant because it illustrates there's no way in hell you can look at that picture and say that player was going for the ball.
Yeah.
She's literally like, it looks like she's choking her out in the picture.
Bad.
And
It was really bad.
They made it a T-shirt.
Good, smart.
And she's selling it.
Well, did you see what Dejanay did? Because, of course, she decided to fire back on people like Acho and all them that were commenting on her.
On her white privilege.
Yes.
Which should be another part of her suspension because she did it during the game.
Yes.
She gets kicked out of the game. She goes to the locker room and she's like, where's the computer? Where's the computer? And she posts white privilege. Now she's trying to walk it back when she is the epitome of white privilege. Hang on with me now. Her father was an NFL football player
for 8 years
in the 21st century, which means he was a millionaire. She's the daughter of a millionaire. So don't give me this white privilege, girl. I'd be willing to bet all $89 I got in the bank right now that she went to private school, that she grew up a bunch around white folks. You think she grew up in a black neighborhood? Really? Millionaire? Daughter? No. And she's talking about white privilege. Girl, you are the poster child for white privilege. You kidding me? Nepo baby? Unbelievable. By the way, Stephanie, what's her name, is out. She's not going to make it next season. The head coach of the Fever.
Oh, yeah.
Not gonna make it.
Well, no, she has already been kind of problematic with her and Caitlyn because they don't get along.
I don't think so. You know, I didn't think that either, but then I saw some video where they were getting along. But as I pointed out yesterday, we played you the audio of Stephanie. What's her name? The head coach. I wrote it down yesterday. The head coach for the Indiana Fever, Stephanie White. She defended the player that hit her player. And in defense of the other player on the other team, she never even... I'm getting a confirmation that, yes, it was definitely Danielle Buckley who passed away. Stephen Nicholas was very, very close with her. He was her producer for a long time, and they were very dear friends. He said he's talking to the daughter. And I was close with her two daughters as well. One of her daughters went down to Alabama and studied at the aeronautical college down there near Tuscaloosa. And I forget what the other one was up to. And her son, man, it's just so sad. So young, 64. And I still don't have a cause of death on that. But it's just a horrible, horrible story. Let's go ahead and take a break. When we come back, I will finally get you to Zach Holland, the greatest golf cheat in the history of golf. I've heard some stories, but this is a crazy one. If you weren't with us at the top of the show, I'll tell you about that. I'll tell you what Derek Carr is up to. He's got a new gig. You might be shocked. I know I was. I wasn't shocked at what he's doing. I was shocked at where he's doing it. Absolutely. Talk about that. Dodgers got a win last night. Do you know how much you had to put up to win $100 against the Kansas City Royals last night with Scoble on the bump?
300.
Yeah, like 305.
Wow, I was joking. Okay, cool.
No, $3 to win 100. And they barely squeaked it out.
Oh?
They barely squeaked it out. They were down 3-0, then they were down 3-2, then they were up 5-3, then it was 5-5.
So does that mean if you bet 100 on Kansas City, you would win 300?
That's the reason I brought it up. Because when I saw that, I almost bet KC.
Oh, heck yeah.
I was like, what's a bill to win 3? What's a bill? I'll spend that on Uber Eats.
That's all
I'll
I'm
spend
thinking.
that at Lawson's. What's a bill? I spend that before I urinate in the morning. Are you kidding? To win 3? I almost pulled the trigger. But then I was like, Scoble? I'm going to bet against Scoble?
True.
And you know what? He looked incredibly average.
Well, again, he has those moments, but when you're in the playoffs running for the World Series, he's going to show you why you traded for him.
He looked pretty good in his first outing. He just looked decent last night. Gave up another home run. He's given up 2 home runs since he's come here.
Yeah, but I've also heard a lot of former Dodger pitchers explain what you guys do better than every other organization, which is pretty much tell your pitcher or whomever you get every problem they've ever had for the past 10 years.
Mark Pryor is a genius.
Yeah.
Mark Pryor is a genius. Our pitching coach, the guy with the beard, stands next to Doc, genius. And as soon as Doc leaves, Mark Pryor is the head coach, the manager of the Dodgers. He is a savant. He was a brilliant pitcher. He won 21 games one season.
Yeah.
And then he had arm problems, and I think it was before Tommy John surgery. By the way, we got more bad news to give you. Tommy John is dying as well. He put on Facebook a kind of a farewell notice. And I'll explain how I had a relationship with Mr. John through George Culver, obviously, but I'll explain that as well when we come back. It's the Ralph Bailey Show on Newstalk 96.1 AM 1230. We're streaming live at kernradio.com.
Kern Radio.
Casey.
N. First Look with Scott Cox. Morning 6 to 9 a.m.
On the Wednesday edition of the First Look program, we'll talk a little medicine with a friend, Dr. Vip Dev. John Cox is back from his latest culvert-based vacation to administer the news quiz, and we've got news and traffic and weather. It's all happening 6 to 9 a.m. right here at News Talk 96.1 at AM 1230 KERN.
News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230 KERN.
Very excited about my weekend. I'm taking a friend who's only been to Casey Steakhouse once, and they were there for an event, so they didn't even eat, but they liked the ambiance. And I said, wait till you get a hold of one of the best steaks you're ever going to have. And I'm going to turn them on to the Stockyard next door on Thursday, Fridays, and Saturdays, where they have live music on Saturday. They have a lovely young woman named Lottie that plays. And of course, Bobby and Jimmy are playing live music Tuesday through Saturday in the main restaurant. But again, the ambiance, the age, the restaurant's almost 90 years old, and no one could have ever believed that Cassie Biddle would take this restaurant to where it is now, advancing, adding on to it, just building up on the menu, where it's not just simply all about steaks. I told you about the lobster mac and cheese, the fish dishes, the chicken dishes, you name it. Chef Daniel's done an incredible job of expanding the menu. Where would you rather be than on F Street at KC Steakhouse, longtime sponsor of the Ralph Bailey Show?
Onyx, I keep having stomach issues. Please make me a doctor's appointment.
Okay. Are you suffering from diarrhea, bloating, gas, or oily stools? If so, you may want to ask your doctor if it could actually be a problem with your pancreas, called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI.
My pancreas? How is EPI treated?
A prescription medicine like Creon, pancrelipase, is used to treat people who can't digest food normally because their pancreas doesn't make enough enzymes. Creon is the #1 prescribed treatment for EPI.
Creon may increase your chance of fibrosing colonopathy, a rare bowel disorder. Tell your doctor if you have a history of intestinal blockage or scarring or thickening of your bowel wall, if you are allergic to pork, or if you have gout, kidney problems, or worsening of painful swollen joints. Call your doctor if you have any unusual or severe gastrointestinal symptoms or allergic reactions. Take Creon as directed by your doctor and always with food. Do not chew capsules, as this may cause mouth irritation. Other side effects may include blood sugar changes, gas, dizziness, sore throat, and cough. These are not all the side effects of Creon. You can learn more at 1-800-633-9110.
Before your appointment, visit creoninfo.com. That's CREON info.com.
Carpet Outlet Plus. Every day is sale day. No one can beat us, no one can touch us. You won't find better prices. Shop and compare, we don't care. Take a look our way and come into Carpet Outlet Plus. Every day is sale day.
Carpet Outlet Plus is celebrating 30 years in business by offering you no interest financing for 12 months. Head over to carpetoutletplus.com to apply now. You can get new waterproof flooring and comfy carpet in the bedrooms, all from one trusted place. Over 70,000 customers can't be wrong. It's probably been time to change your floors for a while, so call, click, or stop by today. Carpet Outlet Plus, 3.5 blocks west of 99 on Rosedale Highway.
Carpet Outlet Plus. Every day is sale day.
Hey folks, Scott Cox here, host of the First Look with Scott Cox radio program. You are listening to the Ralph. But I did run into this that I did save. U.S. cities with the highest unemployment rates. This is in the country. Do you know that California is in the top 10, has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 communities in the top 10 in unemployment? And the first 4 out of the first 5 are in California. El Centro is first at 17.6%. Yuma, Arizona is second at 16.5%. Visalia is second at 10.1%. Merced is fourth at 9.2%. We are fifth in the nation in unemployment at 8.8%. We're lucky that they didn't do it by county. Because if they did it by county, we'd be like first or second. Because Lamont, Arvin, some of those areas, McFarland, some of those areas, Wasco, they have unemployment 15, 20%. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy. Here is former BCHS Eagle, former Fresno State guy. That's what I find this fascinating. It's not that, coaching is something peculiar for a guy to do, but for him to blow off the Bulldogs, here is Derek Carr.
I'm taking my talents to Southern California.
I feel like this is the decision.
I'm going to be coaching at UCLA and helping special advisor to the head coach.
Oh, well, that's great. He's a great dude. Because everybody asked me in Las Vegas, when's Derek playing? Where's he going to go? I'm like, all right, I'll ask him.
I had 6 teams come with different, like, hey, we want you to come be our quarterback. Here's what it looks like. Here's our plan. Here's it. Didn't work out for one reason and another.
Hope the best for them.
Hope the best for all parties.
Yeah.
I am coaching.
Oh.
I want to coach. I've made that abundantly clear.
Beautiful.
To the people closest to me.
You're going to be a great one.
It's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm excited.
Beautiful.
Excited for the Raiders. Excited for the Bulldogs.
Yeah. And excited for?
But I'm really excited for UCLA, man. Coach Chesney, shout out Coach Chesney, shout out D-Ray, shout out to the whole staff, Dean, everybody.
That blows. Are you as shocked as I am about that?
Yes. I thought for sure if he would be going to coach anywhere, it'd be either
Bulldogs.
Well, that or here at BCHS with his brothers.
Yeah.
I would consider that. But no, I think this is a good opportunity for him because there is a kid on this roster that is an NFL prospect at quarterback that needs a good veteran to help him through, and that's that Nico Iamaleava.
Yeah.
The kid from last year that I don't know if you remember, he got a lot of flack for his dad telling him to transfer because he wanted more money. Tennessee told him no, all that type of hoopla. But with him needing a veteran and somebody that, can come in and lead him to be a good pro could help him tremendously.
I was going to ask, but then I realized, well, his brother does it because his brother's still working for the NFL Network, right?
I believe so, on the side, yeah.
And he commutes from Fresno, so I
I
guess
believe he does.
he'll commute from Westwood to Fresno.
And really, they don't really even need him to commute from Fresno because most of the time when they pull in these pundits now, if you don't live in the city, they just have you do it through video, Zoom or something.
Yeah, but you know, Derek.
He'd rather be there. Sure.
Yeah, he's gonna be. He wants to be at every practice, every film session.
That is quite a commute, though. Was it a 4-hour drive?
No, it's a 6-hour drive.
6 hours?
Well, you're right. 4. It's 2. Two. Yeah, 4. Yeah. It's like going to Vegas every day.
Well, realistically, though, with traffic, it could get up
nightmare.
to 6 hours.
I mean,
he's got to be like Kobe and have like a helicopter.
And he's going to Westwood, so he's got to take the 405.
Yeah.
And getting through the valley and coming over the ridge to get to Sunset to go down to Westwood.
That's a heck of a drive.
That's a pain in the ass.
He's got a driver or he's got a helicopter.
Or do they move? Oh, I forgot about the Kobe. Yeah, he could do the Kobe. I forgot. He's a millionaire. Quick timeout. I'll tell you about the golf cheat when we come back.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters in Washington. Senator Darlene Graham, who succeeded her brother, the late Lindsey Graham, is advancing to the Republican special primary runoff election for U.S. Senate in South Carolina. She defeated a slate of Republicans that included Congressman Ralph Norman and Russell Fry and former Governor Mark Sanford. The winner of the August 25th runoff is expected to claim the U.S. Senate seat over the Democratic nominee. Minnesota voters will settle a moderate versus progressive Democratic U.S. Senate primary on Tuesday between centrist U.S. Representative Angie Craig and progressive Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan. In the race for governor, Mike Lindell, known as the My Pillow guy, leads a crowded Republican primary with President Trump's endorsement. More details at SRNnews.com.
Kern Radio, News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230, KERN. Headlines from the KERN Newsroom.
I'm Rob Archer. United Airlines has started daily nonstop flights from Bakersfield to Los Angeles. The new service from Meadows Field to LAX began today. United now flies nonstop from Bakersfield to LA, San Francisco, and Denver. Valley Plaza has added paid preferred parking in a small section close to the entrance. Most of the mall's parking lot remains free. Mall management says the paid spaces give shoppers another option. Some customers were saying that they don't think people should have to pay to park at a Bakersfield mall. And Kern County Animal Services is holding a public meeting tomorrow night about loose and dangerous dogs. The first meeting runs from 6 until 9 at Rusty's Pizza on Olive Drive at Victor Street. I'm Rob Archer in the Kern Newsroom with news every half hour and when it breaks on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230 KERN.
Hey, this is Terry Maxwell. You know, one thing I've never enjoyed is painting. It takes time, patience, and real skill to do it right. That's why when it comes to painting my home or business, I trust the professionals at Howling Painting. Howling Painting is family-owned and operated right here in Kern County and has proudly served our community since 1978. They were even voted Best of Bakersfield, Best Painting Company in 2025 and 2026. Whether it's residential or commercial, interior or exterior, Howling Painting delivers top-quality work at competitive prices. Their team is dedicated to exceptional service and results that exceed expectations. And they don't consider the job finished until you're completely satisfied. Plus, they're fully licensed and insured, so you can feel confident your property is in the good hands from the start to the finish. Get a free, no-obligation consultation today at Howling Painting. That's HALLING.com or call 872-0988. Howling Painting, quality works you can trust.
First Look with Scott Cox, morning 6 to 9 a.m.
Again, the hoodlum kids on the bicycles. You realize that's the whole idea, right? This is a plea for attention. Every time you make a video and then you put it on social media and everybody watches it, those hoodlum kids win. Because that's all they're looking for is the views. And however dangerous and stupid a thing has to be for them to get their clicks, they're going to do it.
News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230. KERN.
Hey, it's JR Flores. Catch my show, The JR Show, starting at 1 p.m. Now back to the Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230.
Very, very good. That means that he shoots in the low 70s just about every single day. A 2 handicap. Your handicap is based on the average score above par. Most golf courses are 72. And so, for example, I am now a 15. I used to be a 16, but I've been putting together some pretty good scores lately, and it's brought me down to a 15, which technically is supposed to mean I should shoot 15 plus 72, 87, just about every time I play. That's not accurate because I don't shoot at 87 every time I play. What killed me was I shot at 83 about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and that brought my handicap down from a 16 to a 15. But this guy was a 2, which is damn near a pro. In fact, to qualify for the U.S. Open, anybody can qualify for the U.S. Open. You just have to go to the qualifying rounds like Manav Shah, the local boy, and win. That's all you got to do. You can be a 20 handicap, but if you can shoot 3 or 4 under for a couple of days, you get to go to the U.S. Open. And so this guy is a pretty good golfer. He played college golf, and he was playing in a tournament. And, you know, every tournament, including ours, our Honor Flight Open tournament that we hold in March, we're going on our, Chris, what, 4th year? Honor Flight Open? 4th? Yeah, this will be our 4th year. And everybody has a hole-in-one hole. I don't think we do a hole-in-one hole, though. We're actually one of the few. That's
we
weird.
haven't. We didn't this last year. I think we did though. Like
The
one of the
first
first
year?
couple of years.
Yeah. Well, and one of the reasons that a lot of people don't do it is because it involves insurance. And, you know, what if somebody actually makes it? You got to be able to pay them with the car or the $1 million or whatever the hell it is. And this guy had, I think the prize, I can't remember, a couple of grand. And so what he did was he found out, like, let's say the par 3 is the 18th hole. Let's just, very few golf courses, except Stockdale, ends on a par 3. In fact, Stockdale is the only course I can think of that ends on a par 3. Isn't it a par 3? Is it 17 or 18? I'm pretty sure it's 18 at Stockdale. It ends on a par 3. I'm pretty sure.
I don't know the course enough to be able to tell you.
I haven't played there in a long time. But let's just say it's 18. And he found out that his group was going to be the first group to hit 18. So what he did was the morning of the tournament, he went to the 18th hole and put in a ball mark, which is where the ball lands. It leaves what is called a ball mark. And that's one of the pet peeves that I have. One of the joys of golf for me is fixing your ball mark, because that means you've hit the green, hopefully, in regulation. Or who cares when you've hit it? I mean, if it makes a ball mark, it's obviously not a chip. So you've hit it from the fairway. So we're assuming that's in regulation, or maybe in my case, in 3 sometimes. But you got to pitch out from the woods, as I often have to. And so he made a pitch mark, and he dropped the ball in the hole. About an hour or 2 before the tournament, went home, came back. And then when they were playing, when they got to the 17th hole, he told his players at the beginning, hey, at some point I'm going to have to cut out and call my grandmother. They said, no problem, we'll cover for you. So they get to the 17th hole, and he says, hey, I'm going to finish early. Let me just go ahead and putt out, and then I'm going to go to 18, and I'm going to hit, and then I'm going to go call my grandmother. And they said, go ahead, we'll catch up with you. So he goes off and pretends he calls his grandmother. The guys come up to the 18th tee, and they're like, "Do you hit already?" He goes, "Yeah, I hit already. How'd you do?" "I'm not sure. I thinned it a little bit," which means you kind of hit it in the middle of the ball. "But I don't know where it went." Playing dumb. So far, so good. They get to the green. They're looking for it. One of the guys looks in the hole and says, "Ralph," or in this case, "Zach, you aced it." They go crazy. They go nuts. They celebrate. They give him the cash. And one of the guys in the group just happened to just start to think, this just doesn't smell right. So he calls the clubhouse and he says, "I don't know if there's anything you can do. And I don't even know if this is right. I could be 100% wrong. But, none of us saw Zach hit that shot." And then he kind of disappeared and came back. And my wife told me that his wife told her that there's nothing wrong with his grandmother. And that was the whole premise of him leaving us. So the clubhouse said, "Well, it's a coincidence. The only security cam we have on the golf course is on our golf cart shed, which just happened out of just bad luck for Zach Holland to overlook the 18th green." So in other words, they have video of him sneaking on the course, making the ball mark, and then dropping his ball in the hole. And I mean, the question that I have, and I asked this to Chris when we started, if you're married to somebody like that, of such low character and dishonesty and deceit, can you really stay with them? Like, how do you raise your kids? Because you know how kids are. Kids are horrible. Your daddy's a cheat. My mommy told me all about your daddy cheating and he got caught. I mean, they must, man. And I mean, when you're growing up, and I'm assuming this is the case for most of us, if not all of us, man, I absolutely revered my father. I was scared to death of him, I'm not gonna lie. But I thought he was the smartest guy amongst his friends, and he had nothing but smart physician friends. I thought he was the most courageous man I'd ever met in my life. Nothing scared my father, seemingly, to me. He was, I assume that we all grow up like that, thinking our fathers are Superman. The first time my father had a heart attack, it took me 10 minutes to go into his room. It took me 10 minutes because I would open the door and I'd see him laying in the bed with these tubes, and I just couldn't handle it. I could not handle it. You don't understand. You really don't. You'd have to know my father. I wish Wilbur Sewsbury was still alive. He could chime in, or maybe call my uncle. My father literally never missed a day of work. He was one of those guys, like Magic Johnson's dad. I think Magic Johnson said his dad never missed a day of work in like 40 years at GM. And he got this plaque that Magic hangs up in his house. My dad never missed work. And I think that was his undoing. He went back to work after his second heart attack, like 10 days after he got released from the hospital. 10 days. And like I said, he didn't drink. He didn't smoke. I think he just worked himself to death. He had 3 heart attacks and finally had the final one that he succumbed to. But I don't know. I'll give this to the guy. He went on St. Louis. This happened in O'Fallon, Missouri. Never heard of it. But I'll give this to him. He's standing up. I'd go run and hide somewhere. But he went on a St. Louis radio show and fessed. Said, "Yeah, I gave the money back, and I've obviously quit the country club." Now, that's debatable whether he got quit or whether he got booted. Either way, he was out. And he talked about it in detail on this radio show and just said, I don't mind people coming after me, but now they're coming after my wife. They're coming after the kids. And it's about as dumb a thing as you could do. And it's just been my experience in life. I don't know about you guys, but good people don't make ridiculous character flaws like this at that age. I'm assuming he's in his 30s, maybe early 40s. And to do something that despicable and that devious and that deceitful, it's not like you're going on this level, you're honest, and all of a sudden you do something out of the chart deceitful. You know what I'm saying? Like, we all lie on occasion. We do. Admit it. We do. Whether it's, oh, I can't come to the party, my ankle hurts, when you just don't feel like being around those group of people, or whatever the lie is. But to go out of your way to cheat, and it's golf, which is one of the most self-officiating games there is. I told you I cheated. I was playing with Zucchini a couple of weeks ago. And when I played with Mark Swaim and the boys at Sundale, they bumped the ball, which, you could argue whether or not they're really playing golf, or are they playing hockey or field hockey or something, because that is like the ultimate rule you can't screw with. Moving your ball and proving your lie. And so I was so used to doing it. Zucchini is standing right next to me. And I was a little chip. It wasn't a big deal. And it wasn't a horrendous lie, but I just wanted a better lie, and I moved it. And Zucchini was like, "What did you just do?" And I go, "What?" And I go, "Dude, I'm sorry. I'm so used to doing that with the boys at Sundale. I apologize. You want me to put it back?" He's like, I don't give a damn. He was working on his match. And it's just muscle memory. I just, right in front of him. I didn't try to hide it. I just kind of slashed it, moved up a little bit. And he's like, "Have you lost your mind?" And so to do something like this, I don't know. You're only cheating yourself. You know what I mean? Like, there are times when Chris will screw up my score and say, "You got a 5, didn't you?" And I'll be like, "No, I got a 6. So easy to me to just say, yeah. And say, "Well, he got it wrong. What am I supposed to do?" No. You're only cheating yourself. And to go to that extent, to get up early in the morning, make a divot, put the ball in the hole and whatever. Who you got, Chris?
Chris Horace first.
Chris, what's really going on?
Hey, Ralph, I hope you had an uneventful birthday.
I did indeed, and it was wonderful.
Very good. Hey, just real quick, this is another call, but one of the things we always tell our lacrosse players is character is what you do when nobody's looking. And I truly believe that.
I love that phrase. Yep, that's exactly what life is about. That's true character. What you do when nobody is looking. When you can get away with it, are you willing to do it? And it's just, it speaks to who you are. It really does.
Yeah, truly.
Yeah.
But the reason I called is I had a patient who her elderly cousin from Vegas was visiting last week, and her cousin was a retired x-ray tech and was the x-ray tech that took the chest films on 2-pack when he came into the hospital.
Really?
And yes, and what she said, again, I never realized this, but evidently, I guess he only had one good working lung. I don't know whether it was disease or previous injury. And unfortunately, the lung that took all the shots was the one that still worked okay. And that's one of the reasons he didn't make it.
Yeah, because he lingered for a couple of days, like 5 or 6 days.
Yeah. But yeah, he only had one good lung, and that lung was the one that got beat up with all the bullets. So
wow.
And she was also the x-ray tech that took the films on. I can't remember if it was Siegfried or Roy, but when the Tiger went to chop on one of them, she was taking the x-rays on him too when that happened. So
that's crazy. Yeah, that is interesting. All right, man. Thanks for the info.
All right.
Hey. Who else you got?
Dave.
Dave, what's really going on?
Hey, happy belated birthday.
Thank you, sir.
Dave here.
What's happening?
Just great show. That Clayton Morgan, the story he told about his dad, that was Bailey-esque.
Clayton Morgan?
Yeah, was that his name, Clayton Morgan or Morgan Clayton or something?
Oh, Clayton Campbell?
Clayton Campbell.
The fill-in last week?
Yes.
I obviously didn't hear the show. I check out when I'm on vacation.
It was Bailey-esque. He talked about his dad and where he came from. But it was a great thing. Anyway, did you get golf in while you were on vacay?
1 round of golf. That's it.
Where at?
That's it.
And your mommy, how's your mom doing?
She's doing well. Everybody's doing well. The nephew's doing well. Just got back from Costa Rica. And everybody's doing well.
All right. I just wanted to wish you a belated happy birthday.
Thank you, Dave.
August is a great month for birthdays.
Lot of folks.
Take care.
All right, you too, Dave. Thanks for the call. Final break of the night. Tomorrow is a Wednesday. Jennifer and Ryan Van Alstyne will join us live at 3:30. And we'll see. Well, I'm not going to say anything until it's confirmed. In the meantime, keep it locked. Scott Jennings at the top of the hour. Sure, he'll be talking about the plane Ruse. R-U-S-E. In the meantime, you're listening to The Ralph Bailey Show on Newstalk 96.1, AM 1230, where we stream live at kernradio.com.
Kern Radio, News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230, KERN. Maxwell in the morning. Good till the last mic drop.
Dr. Sam Woggood, transfer to the University of California at San Francisco, was asked, can only women get pregnant? And that was asked by Representative Mary Miller. You know what? He couldn't answer it. That's what I'm talking about, because everybody listening to me right now knows that only women can get pregnant in the
I just blew out my knee.
You just blew out your knee?
Well, not totally, but it like buckled.
Ooh, ow.
Sucks being old, dude. Sucks. I mean, not even walking. I was just stepping. Jesus Christ. Sucks being old. Sucks being old. Three, two. This is why Robert Kennedy Jr. and Stephen Miller are so dangerous with this vaccination nonsense. Everything they said in the Oval Office is stupid and dishonest. That the field of medicine hasn't investigated the connection or the alleged connection between autism and these vaccinations. The vaccinations are safe, and they're just making it more difficult for folks. Shit. It's way too long. Three. Oh, they fired Mike Maddox, the Angels pitching coach. Greg Maddox's brother.
Yeah.
They whacked him. The Angels did.
Oh, I didn't even see it.
It just flashed on Eyewitness News. Here we go. 3, 2. Everything Stephen Miller and Robert Kennedy Jr. said in the Oval Office Monday was a lie. They have studied the connection between the vaccinations and autism, and there is no connection. It's all pumped up by a funky doctor who's been discredited and a bunch of celebrities who jumped on board. The vaccinations are safe. Do not believe this administration. 3, 2. It's that man again. Look what's coming up on the Wednesday TRBS. Jennifer, Ryan Van Alstyne, owner-operators of Adaptive Networks, will join us. And Wendy Cordova, Director of Campus Engagement and Leadership at BCC. Yeah, she plays golf at BCC. 3, 2. It's that man again. Look what's coming up on the Wednesday TRBS. Owner-operators of Adaptive Networks, Ryan and Jennifer Van Alstyne, will join us, talk about cybersecurity a little bit more. And Wendy Cordova, Director of Campus Engagement and Leadership at Bakersfield College, joins us in the 5. All that, me at 3. It's TRBS, right here on Newstalk 96.1 and AM 1230. I'll see you at 3.
Accept most insurances, including Medi-Cal, Medicare, and Kern Family. They offer Kern County's longest-standing inpatient detox program with dual diagnosis that combines medical care and withdrawal management all under one roof. Learn more at GoodSamaritanHospital.com or call 661-215-7500. Good Samaritan Hospital. They care for their community.
Hey folks, Scott Cox here, host of the First Look with Scott Cox radio program. You are listening to The Ralph Bailey Show right here on Newstalk 96.1 and AM 1230 KERN.
Some message from the wrong day. It's the date's all we have. We used to be right. Oh, what? The good news is Dodger win last night. Edwin Diaz, what's his first name?
I think it's Edwin.
Edwin?
Sure, it's Edwin.
He got the save.
Oh, that's good. He's back on track, hopefully. Y'all.
Do you know what his ERA is? He's 2-1. He's 5-8 in saves. But what do you think his ERA is? And you won't come within 2 or 3 runs. You will not come within 3. You won't come within 4 runs of what his ERA is.
How many appearances do you know off the top of your head?
10.
10?
10.
4.3.
10.05.
Oh, baby.
How the hell is he 2-1 and only blown 3 saves? He blew 2 this weekend.
Blowing the trumpets, baby. Let's go.
He blew a save and still ended up getting the win the other night because we were up 1-0 and he made it 1-1 and then we went on and won and he's the pitcher of record. And so he blew the save and got a win in the same game.
The benefits of playing with Shohei Ohtani and company.
I've got an ERA of 10 and I'm 2-1. That's crazy. And he's 5 out of 8, which is not great, but it ain't bad.
No, that's still pretty good.
You would think if I had led with he has a 10 ERA, y'all would have been like, what is he, 1-4 with a 4 out of 9 saves? No. And like I said, the 2, he just blew this over this past weekend. But it's just good to see us get back on the winning ways. Again, no need to panic. As I've been telling you since February, we're all about September and October. We're all about September and October. And in fact, speaking of the devil, Blake Snell, I think is taking the bump tonight. Is he taking the bump or is he just back with the club? I think he's taking the bump tonight. I do believe. But
they do have him as a starter tonight.
Yeah. And Tyler Glasnow is very close. Excuse me. He's about a week or 2 away from doing some rehab down in Oklahoma City. So we'll be ready by September. Can we three-peat? I'm not sure. You know what is our biggest problem, Chris Burdick? You don't really follow the Dodgers like I do.
Not that closely, but catching?
Exactly. Brilliant. Very nicely done. We are woefully, our first 2 starters are down. We could have gotten away with Dalton rushing, but this kid that we call back up, this kid they call Ben Biceps, the big Roquefort, whatever his name is, he's horrible. The brother that we had up for a hot minute, Chip Robinson, he was horrible. And who's the other catcher that we have? We have one more who's horrible. And Dalton rushing is spotty at best. He's pretty good. He's a decent hitter. He's in like 2.
But he's saying now he needs UCL surgery or something.
Oh, is that right? Is he done for the season?
I don't know if he's out for the season, but they were talking about that either today or yesterday, that he's talking about he needing surgery on something.
And Will Smith is never going to be Will Smith again, not this year. You know, even if he comes back tomorrow, he's not going to be Will Smith.
Oh, no, he tore the UCL. I'm sorry. Yeah, no, rushing is dealing with that.
So is that season ending?
Most of it, for sure.
Yeah, we need that's our sore point. And Mookie, although we got a couple of hits last night. But it's going to be interesting because we're currently in 3rd place. You know what that means, Chris, don't you?
That there are 2 people ahead of you? Sorry. Low-hanging fruit.
Then we're going to play your damn Phillies in a best of 5 is what it means.
Yeah, I know.
That just sucks.
I don't know, because the Braves have spit the bit before at the end of the year, and I'm still hoping they do it again.
Yeah, I hope so,
We're
too.
not that far behind them.
So who is it? Braves?
Braves and Milwaukee are ahead of you, along with Toronto. Braves and Milwaukee.
So where are you guys? Why would we face you then?
Because you're 3rd in the NL.
And you'd be the wild card?
Yeah.
So the 3rd place team plays the wild card?
Yeah. And the other 2 wild card teams play each other.
And with Sanchez, and who's your other guy?
Sanchez, well, this year Wheeler is kind of off and on.
Yeah, I thought they were saying that Wheeler's having a better year than Sanchez.
At times he is, but he's dealing with injuries and stuff because he's getting older. Aaron Nola is not the same as he used to be.
But you guys would be dangerous in a best of 5.
Oh, yeah. No,
or is it best of 3?
Oh, in that situation, it's a best of 3. You're right.
Yeah, so you guys would be dangerous. Sanchez beats us in the first one.
Well, and picking up RS2 is going to be a great bat for us late in the year. Like, I'm excited for that part of it.
Yeah, I don't want to be in third place. Doc should get in there and flip the catering cart and just go off on these guys and be like, look, we are not going to play a best of 3. Let's pick this up, Mookie. That's what you do. You pick on, or he cusses out Shohei. That's what Phil Jackson used to do. He'd go after Michael Jordan, and the other players would be like, damn, if he'd go after Jordan, what's he going to say to me? That's going to do it. I want to thank Teresa Goldner for joining us, as per usual, on a Tuesday, along with her Tuesday colleague, Howard Marcus. Tomorrow, the Van Alstynes from Adaptive Networks and Wendy Cordova from BC. In the meantime, for Chris Burdick, I'm Ralph Bailey. That's what's really going on. We will wrap to you tomorrow.
Kern Radio, AM 1230, KERN, 96.1 FM, K241CI, Bakersfield.
You're good. Yeah, I got it. Don't even worry about it.
All on Keith Peters in Washington. Senator Darlene Graham, who succeeded her brother, the late Lindsey Graham, is advancing to the Republican special primary runoff election for U.S. Senate in South Carolina. She defeated a slate of Republicans that included Congressman Ralph Norman and Russell Fry, plus former Governor Mark Sanford. The winner of the August 25th runoff is expected to claim the U.S. Senate seat over the Democratic nominee. Minnesota voters will settle a moderate versus progressive Democratic U.S. Senate primary on Tuesday between centrist U.S. Representative Angie Craig and progressive Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan. In the race for governor, Mike Lindell, known as the My Pillow guy, leads a crowded Republican primary with President Donald Trump's endorsement, while Senator Amy Klobuchar faces minimal opposition for the Democratic nomination. President Trump reportedly left the NATO summit on a different plane than reporters and some staff thought. We hear more on this story from correspondent Lisa Dwyer reporting.
The operation involved a ruse where journalists and some White House staff believed that they were on the same plane as Trump. After boarding Air Force One, Trump was secretly transferred to a smaller Air Force C-32A via an airport catering truck. While the White House has not directly addressed that report, it issued a statement highlighting that it uses every tool at its disposal to address threats on the president. So far, no comment from the Secret Service. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
On Wall Street, the Dow down by 184 points. The NASDAQ dropped 159, with the S&P 500 lower by 24. Oil around $83 a barrel. More at townhall.com.